Hello everyone, welcome to episode 67 of FPL BlackBox. It's a star-studded lineup for us today. Not only am I joined by Luke, again, which has been lovely, but Mark's back. Hi Mark.
Hello. Oh, hold on a minute. I didn't... 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. Nothing on my mic. That's Wout Weghorst returns last 6 game weeks. Hey, I did that joke. I did that joke on Green Arrow in the comments. And I thought, that's too good to waste in the comments. I'm going to do it again on BlackBox when we come on.
Right, how do we get rid of Mark again? Just blown it instantly. Excellent. Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
I genuinely thought you were having technical problems. You've already spilt a beer all over yourself. In the first 2 seconds.
Yeah, that was your fault, because I heard your voice in the distance. And I reached for the arm of the mic and threw my beer over myself. I've got change, You're lucky I'm wearing trousers, right? Yeah.
Luke, how you doing? You all right?
I'm good, yeah, very good. Thanks for having me on again. Obviously pleased to see you, Mark. And I've got Man City on in the background, so forgive me if I'm slightly distracted. Torn away from Champions League football. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
It's been so good, isn't it?
I've got my I'm going to have my tail between my legs this episode, Luke, because Cancelo is going to be coming into my team, I think.
Hey,
Single game week player? What are you doing?
Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. We've got single game week players to talk about. We've got double game week players to talk about, which are going to try and draw up some interest in some of those. Luke and I are the kings of drumming up interest in Dross double game week players. Remember our Everton Burnley pod, Luke? That was a banger, wasn't it?
It was an absolute banger, yeah. To be fair, Richarlison did something for some people.
He did,
That's probably the one person we didn't talk up in the pod, but still.
I think we said one word about Richarlison. It was no, and then moved on.
Gordon got an assist, didn't he? He got something.
He did, yeah. I think he got sick. He didn't start the first one, did he? And then he came on and played the second one, got an assist, but then got an early sub or so. It was a disaster. My instinct is that this is also going to be a disaster. This double game. None of us are free hitting. Right?
Well, not at the moment. Not at the moment.
Okay, so we might going to talk Mark into one. Okay.
I'm open to persuasion.
Okay. I'm definitely not free hitting. So, interesting. We're all on red arrows this week. We're going to talk about our game week scores. You're both 150k for some reason. I don't know what's going on with your seasons, but let's try and address that as well. Let's go through our game week. So, last game week, second worst game week of the season for me. Dropped out of the top 1k, down to 1.6, 49 points. Ramsdale, Doherty injured. Trent, Robertson, nothing. Barnes, nothing. Coutinho, nothing. Saka, nothing. Kulusevski and Salah did all right, 12 and 5. Lacazette, nothing. And then Kane, 20. Absolutely decimated by Son, as a lot of people were who didn't have him. I think I talked you into getting rid of Son for Kane a few weeks ago, Mark. That
yeah,
well,
did
didn't
you?
It?
Yeah. I seem to remember that event. Yes, exactly. How painful that has been. Now, I haven't calculated how many points I've lost as a result of that. But yeah, Son really did spank us, didn't he? I mean, it was like the Southampton game all over again. Do you remember Southampton the season before last when he got the 4 goals? And it was like, surely he has to stop at some point. Please make it stop. But it just went on, didn't it? And clinical, absolutely clinical.
You think with Kane still got 10. I thought the damage would be quite a bit, but I got like a 200% rank decrease, and it's mostly from Son because no one else really did that amazing this time. I mean, I know Cancelo got an assist; he's quite highly owned, but it was mostly Son, wasn't it? None of us own him on this podcast, so we all got burnt by it. But yeah, anyway, that's me. 49.
I was watching, it was painful because Kane got booked, didn't he? And then lost BPS. I think it was a 6-point swing because of that. And I was watching the game on my phone because I went to Forest and I was on my way back from Forest. And I lost the signal just as Kane slid in to bring the bloke down. I can't remember who it was running forward. And I thought to myself, I bet that's a booking. And he's going to lose his bonus. And I got signal back about 10 minutes later and Twitter was full of, Kane swing of 6 points. I'm like, oh, God, so annoying.
He had another great game, but...
Yeah,
Son is looking like the man. I mean, my week was even worse though, really, because I was all set into bench boost going into 33, but now I've lost Doherty. Roberts has lost his place in the Burnley side to bloody Matt Lowton. You got something to say about that, haven't you, Luke?
Luke cursed you on that. Go on, talk about it, Luke.
Yeah, you cursed me, Mark. Yeah, I was going to buy.
I gave you Lowton.
Yeah, I was going to buy someone else, and you're like, go for Loughton, double game week plays, never missed a minute, and then he misses 3 clean sheets they got in a row as well. I still can't let it go. Every pod I'm on, I bring this up.
I know you bring it up, don't you? But he was ever present until that point, and then
I know.
out of nowhere he got dropped, just like Roberts out of nowhere got completely dropped.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about his delivery not being too soon, as in Loughton puts the ball in earlier, which is more likely to benefit the Burnley style, but. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, I guess, because Roberts looked pretty good when he came in, didn't he? But now you just don't know who's going to play it.
Well, did you see Dyche's comments after the game, after the Norwich?
It's something like, I saw it on the Scout, sort of, he's been playing well, but Loughton's been waiting, and now he played a good game or something along those lines, wasn't it?
Not. He's out, I reckon. Roberts. Dyche isn't going to keep changing his right back every week. It's going to be Loughton for a bit now. So
I mean, we're talking about the difference between 2 and 0 points here, aren't we? Probably.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Still, you can be bitter about it, as can't you?
Okay, I'm tempted to bench boost, even though 2 of my bloody bench don't even play. Well, 3 of them won't play: Amity, Hwang, and Roberts. And I'm still tempted.
Well, you've got to do it
bench
at some
boost.
point, haven't you?
I know. Oh dear. Anyway, enough about my team. Luke, you got 55 this week. A little bit better than me. I mean, some of the scores I've seen though, there's people in like the hundreds. It's like crazy. I mean, Mount got 19 and Son and a couple of other players, and you were kind of laughing. Tony as well. If you had sort of 2 of those 3, you had a really good week. Do you want to read out your team and points?
Oh, I can do, yeah. I got 55, so I had Pope in goal for 2. I bought Cancelo in, and if you remember the last pod, I was saying I'm not sure whether I want to get Cancelo in for this game, because it's going to be a hit.
Yeah, you were saying you didn't really rate him, and you thought you could go without him to the end of the season, right?
I don't remember that, but in the end I got him, and luckily he got an assist. I mean, the thing is, I did back it for a 2-2, which it ended up being, so I thought if there are going to be goals in it, and there's a lot of conversation on Twitter about, you shouldn't start your defenders in this game, and I do understand that, but I think we do have to remember that the defenders, if there is going to be 2 goals for each side, they're very likely to be involved in the goals. They are the attackers these days. So I think, it's lucky if you got some points out of the game. It's not a game ideally you would start them, but I'm very thankful that he paid back the hit to get him in. So him with 5 was probably one of the highlights outside the Spurs boys, basically. Kulusevski with 12, Kane 20. Luckily, I've never had Son. I had Kane straight from the beginning of Wildcard, so I haven't done the switcheroo. So overall, it's not been too bad, if you know what I mean, because Kane was outscoring Son, but ideally, I'd want them both, obviously. Kept faith with Salah, he got the assist as well. And then the rest of my team was just James 1, Doherty 1 off injured. Coutinho got 2
1,
points.
2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2. Sorry, it's a joke that keeps giving, basically. Yeah.
It is. How did Coutinho get a 2-pointer in that game, by the way? I thought Villa were fantastic for the first half of that Spurs game. And he looked like he was really...
I'd tell you the other player that's killed all 3 of us is Rafinha, because I think we've all kind of backed Coutinho over Rafinha, I think, particularly the last 3 or 4 games. And now that's actually been a complete disaster. With Rafinha getting 10 and Coutinho blanking again, that's just been...
Coutinho is making me very depressed, actually. He's doing what Rafinha does as well, like flirting with points but never getting any. And I want rid, basically. I want rid. Luke, what do you think about Coutinho? Is he going for you?
I mean, he's pretty much already gone. If I free hit, he's obviously not going to be in the team. Yeah. And if I don't, then he's just going straight to Foden, probably, or Maddison, one of those 2. So, I say one of those 2. I've already done my move, so I don't want to give it away.
Ooh. Give it away. Ooh, good. Very nice.
Early, unlike me.
Keep you to the end. The other good thing for people listening is when Mark and I have both done a free hit draft for you to pick apart, Luke. I thought we were going to have 10 players the same, and we've got 4, Mark. So very different free hit players we've gone for.
Mine's quite controversial, I think.
It is very.
I've been watching the Twitter stream, the timelines this week, and everyone's going, when we get to it, I'll talk about it more. But I think mine's a bit controversial.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It's fine.
All right, fair enough.
Your game week 53. Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah. So Pope in goal, 2 points. I mean, when Norwich scored, God, dearie me. I thought I'd get a clean sheet out of that, but no. Pope conceded a couple of goals, of course. So Trent with the 4, Doherty with 1, Robertson nothing. Shah with the clean sheet on the Friday, which was a decent start, I guess. Salah with the assist, Saka 1, Kulusevski with 12, the aforementioned Coutinho with just the 2 points. Then you've got Harry with the 20, and then Flogger Weghorst on 1 point. What can you say?
You sound very depressed. I will say you spent a lot of time on Twitter and to me bigging up Weghorst.
No. I wasn't bigging him up. I was just anti dissing him quite as much as people have. Like, people were really laying into him. And, I mean, like, for me, it was Jimenez out for somebody. And it was, for me, I just thought it was the obvious choice because he had 5 games right now. He's kind of had, 2.5 so far at best, I would say. And I don't even know if he's going to get both the doubles. And if I was not going to start a double game week player, it would probably be him that would be benched for me. So, yeah, he's been dreadful. I mean, I don't know what's the theory on Weghorst, because he can't be a bad player because he's like got 1-2 record over 120 games in the Bundesliga. I know it's the Bundesliga, and we've seen with Werner and Havertz they take time and maybe they will never adjust. But I don't want to get into that argument because that's that way trouble lies. But what do you think? Is Weghorst really that bad, or Burnley just struggling to get anything out of him?
I don't think he's a bad player, but I think he's a terrible option because they have absolutely no idea how to get the ball to him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And that's that. Well, I mean, it's clear. I mean, McNeil is their most creative player, really, and he's having an absolutely shocking season. So I just can't see any way in which Weghorst gets
watching
goals.
Weghorst play, he seems to be just like getting into in any position other than the one where the ball is going at the moment. I don't understand. Like, I watch him obviously, and you can't miss him because he's 6'7", but you watch him and you're just like, the ball's just not going anywhere near him. It seems like he's deliberately trying to. He's like if I was playing in an 11-side game and I was trying to hide, he's like that. He's like a competition winner trying to hide from showing how shit he is, basically. Obviously, he's not.
You've
but that's
changed
what he's
your bloody
playing
tune.
like. No, I don't think he is rubbish, but I just think something. Just Burnley just don't seem to be able to understand where he is, what position he's
I'd
like.
say that applies to all 11 on the pitch. For Burnley, to be fair, they're just bottom for all stats that involve having the ball in any sort of area, aren't they? And I think that just works against him. Bless him. Yeah,
I know, but like I pointed out on Twitter a while back, every now and then Dyche has got this ability to pull out a result. He hasn't done it yet, and I don't, maybe he's not going to do it this season, and it's the season they go down. But previously they won that game at Wolves 4-0 and Wood got a hat-trick. I think Jonty had him as well. Joe had him in the team at the time. And
I had him in that game, yeah.
Did you? Yeah, and they played really well and they pulled out a 4. Then they lost 4-0 at home to Leeds, so they were very erratic during that spell. But I don't know, it's just not happening for them, is it? And I don't think it's going to. I think they're down, aren't they? I mean, I thought they had a chance, but having watched them, unfortunately having to watch them for the last 3 games, I can't really see any daylight for them.
I just think if you've got no pace like he has in this league, and you're a team where you need to get, I mean, he needs to be close to the goal to score a goal, doesn't he? He's that kind of player. And if you've just got no pace whatsoever, you need a team to basically bring the ball up for him, don't you? And Burnley are the worst team in the league at doing that outside of hoofing it. And he's also their best creator as well, because he obviously drops deep and he can actually hold the ball up and lay it off. Like, he is a good player. Like, you don't get in the Dutch team.
Well, he must be.
Not be technically sound, do you? I mean,
no.
That's the one thing of anything that the Dutch are known for, is being technically sound, and he's in the team, or played in bits and pieces for them.
Any striker would struggle in the system Burnley have got. It doesn't matter how good you are, what size you are, what talent you've got. There's no balls getting played to him. So how can he create anything? But it's interesting is him getting subbed off as well, because Dyche obviously recognised that. And
so did Joe Rodriguez. Rodriguez, who sold him ahead of the game week, and panic amongst the community.
And he still started. Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. He obviously just seen enough. He's like, nah.
I think he's rubbish.
Yeah. I'm going to stand by that. Come on, we can't just talk about Weghorst for the whole podcast, can we?
No, you could, but that's not.
Great and the good. I've been usurped. Bloody hell.
How does he do it? Right? How does he do this? Because I was neck and neck with him last season and he just pipped me. I look at this season and think this is a tough season to actually get out of the pack and challenge. And he's managed to do it still. And he's just clawed you back. Incredible, isn't it?
Not like over time. He's clawed back 50 points in 1 week. Like, to anyone who's like thinking their mini leagues are lost or whatever, I mean, he got 99 points this week.
Unbelievable.
I got 49. He just absolutely smashed me into oblivion. It was the highest I mean, Andy Slippers had a good week, 86. Magnus Carlsen got 73. The rest were kind of around the mid 60s-ish. So, I mean, he got 34 points more than the kind of, good scoring managers in the league. And yeah, for me, you had a bad one. It was shocking. Mark, 53. You're second from bottom now. You're only ahead of Tom Freeman. Joe's pulling away a little bit.
Yeah.
Now?
It's not good. I'm on with Joe for a scout video this week, so Mind Games will be induced for that particular video in an attempt to try and claw Joe back. But it's what can you say? I mean, like, Fabio's the best manager in the world, right? I'm not having it any other way. When you see him pull this out this season as well, I've really struggled this season. But Tom Freeman's a great manager as well. He's down there with me, so I know there's other good managers around who have struggled as well. I just can't get it going at all. I haven't been able to get a break, which has really pushed me forward enough. And obviously those above me have had 1 or 2 game weeks like that and managed to maintain it. I think it's been a testing season for all kinds of reasons, but one that hopefully I can learn from, because I've made a few mistakes for sure.
I will say, in any other normal season, this sort of rank around this time isn't even that bad. Like, you could still make it back, and it's still, around the 100,000 isn't that bad. It's just that a lot of people in this league, and obviously on Twitter in general, have just done really well this season. I think because the template was so strong at the start, and that's why it's bad for me and you, Mark, to have a bad season in a season where everyone else is doing really good. It looks worse than it is, basically, because 100,000 is not that bad in the grand scheme of things out of 9 million people, is it? It's just the competition's ridiculous.
I think, like, in the amongst the Twitter community and all the managers, I think you had to get into the top 50k around the halfway mark and then work your way up from there. If you didn't, like us, if you were still around the 250, 300k mark, it was really hard to make up the ground, because I think there was a period where you had to get on James and Chilwell, you had to get on Rafinha when he had his little run, you had to get on, obviously Son in this recent spell. There's been opportunities and I've missed a lot of them, and made a few mistakes, and that's it. That's cost me. I mean, normally I think I would get away with the level of mistakes I've made and some of the bad luck I've had. Normally I'd probably get away with it and still get a top 10k finish out of it, but not this season. It's just not happened.
Yeah, someone's mentioning Ferran Torres in the chat. That was probably the thing that started
it all,
wasn't it? Yeah. Oh god. Little message from Greyhead. Don't know if you saw it. It made a little kind of indication that there might be some kind of relegation if you come bottom in the Great the Good. Can't be having that.
Do I have to come bottom, or can I bottom 2? Is that relegation?
Well, he mentioned you and Tom and said, did a little eye emoji and kind of implied that there might be a.
I mean, relegation is threatened all across my mini leagues. I mean, Elite 64, I'm in trouble as well. There's a league called As Is Better Than Dad. I don't know whether I'm going to get relegated from that. I don't think I can, because obviously I'm dad, so I can't be relegated. But yeah,
I'm sixth in that now. I think I was second.
I'm glad to see you toppled in that league in particular. It's mini league misery for me, but one of those things, isn't it?
Yep. Captain points. Obviously, Fabio is now top of the pile for that, 644. I think I'm second level with Magnus Carlsen on 620. I'll take that. Mark, you're down to 590. So I think you were top of this for quite a while, but captains recently have kind of let you down a bit. Luke, you're on 586, so kind of similar to Mark, which is a pretty good score. I mean, Joe's on 5.4 something, and then Les Caldwell's on 5.10. So Les Caldwell, who got promoted last year from the Great and the Good, has really kind of struggled with the captaincy stuff. But yeah, Son, I think that's for Son.
I was going to say Son in the last sort of few weeks has obviously heavily influenced that, hasn't he? Because I was a lot higher in that, I think, a couple of weeks ago when I was on here. So it's, just fine margins like that. I mean, I don't think in any particular game anyone can say Son is a better captain than Kane or vice versa, really. I know there was like theories going around that Son does better at home, Kane does better away, but XG is similar in both scenarios.
The thing is, Luke, there were theories going around that you switched Son to Kane when I did. Right?
Yeah,
I wasn't buying that. I didn't switch Son to Kane because I thought Son was off form. I switched Son to Kane because I thought Kane was a player I'd rather captain for the run-in.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of people saying, Son's out of form. I didn't get the out of form business.
I don't follow the captain things. I think Son's a great captain, and midfielders are generally better captains, so I don't really understand that logic. But
if you look at
understand
Kane,
it structurally.
Yeah, structurally, and also because there's no forwards, but also if you look at Kane's consistency, it is really strong. Whereas Son can be streakier, can't he? That's the thing. Not recently, but he has been.
Mark, I've just had upgrade to Pro message on Zoom.
Oh, what?
I know.
Are you using the wrong account again?
No, I'm logged into yours, I believe.
Remaining time 9 minutes, it says.
Yep.
Not again.
I am logged into yours and it says licensed.
Well, I've never had that issue, and I use that account all the time. So this is fascinating for listeners of the podcast. You'll have to edit this bit out.
That's what it happened to me. It happened to me last week, but I don't understand why. Literally logged into a Zoom account with Pro.
So what are you going to do now then? What did you do last week?
I'm going to have to switch to a sighting soon and sort it out.
Okay, again. I can't believe this. What?
I know. It's really irritating. Hang on. Right. Sorry, everyone. Bear with us. Sorry about that, everyone. We're back. If anyone has any idea why Zoom might be doing that, let me know. It's never done it before, and it's done it now twice in 2 weeks. So it must be something I'm doing, but I don't know what it is.
1, 2. No, I'm doing it again.
It freaks me out when you do that.
Sorry.
Brings back memories of when we've had the technical issues like this before in the past. Anyway, right, let's carry on. That's the great and the good done. I've kind of lost my flow a bit. Let's try and get back into it. Chip tracking. So this is something that I've been doing. The screens have gone wrong on this one now. Honestly, it's all gone wrong now, Mark. You're gonna have to come back and do these in the future. I can't be trusted. Hang on. One thing I can do is fix things on the fly, though. There you go. Chip tracking. So what I'm doing with this is just looking at the Game Week 26 wildcard versus the Game Week 26 triple captain. I'm looking at kind of 15 managers who used that chip in both of those weeks and just comparing how their seasons are going. Interestingly, this week has seen the wildcarders in Game Week 26 overtake the triple captainers. So at the moment, the average score across this period for wildcarders is 5.64, and for triple captainers is 5.48 across those 15. Mark, you were in the wildcard camp. No chips left. Well, we're free hit, but not as many as the triple captainers.
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to kind of change around, given in the last kind of few weeks? There's a bench boost and probably some other things knocking around.
Yeah, possibly. You think? I mean, I'm kind of braced to lose ground to some people with multiple chips. I don't know how effective the bench boost will be for people who don't have. I mean, I guess they're going to play the wildcard 35 and bench boost 36, which could be really effective. Right? So I'm expecting to lose ground in 36. As a result of that, depends what I do with my free hit, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite surprised that there's now a gap between the two. It did look pretty even. Any theories as to why that map might be? I was obviously the players that they've got.
It's just all been pretty even. I mean, the only swings really were in 26 when the triple captains did better, because obviously Salah got that kind of mega haul, and then in 28 it was actually the wildcarders that did better because of those Arsenal players they'd probably bought on the bench. Saka came in, didn't he? And Lacazette got the 8 and those kind of guys. Other than that, every game week has only been a kind of a handful of points.
But do you think that the wildcard 26 guys have got Son? Do you think Son is more prevalent in their teams? Do you reckon
I think so, because that's like what you were, right? And then I got
talked into someone
who would have done that?
But definitely wildcard 26 Son was really popular because I went Kane for that reason, to be different. And I suppose also when you compare the chips, triple captain is very much a 1 week chip, and wildcards are a long term thing, isn't it? So over time you'd expect it to start deviating to be better as long as we had a good wild card at that time.
Yeah.
But that's going to switch around again, like you say. As soon as the other people activate their wild cards and bench boosts and stuff, you'd imagine they're going to kick on from that point. So, what do you think? Like, is there sort of an average amount of chips left amongst the top people that we know of? I mean, I know I've got one free hit, and that seems to be fairly popular. But is there a generic answer to that? Do you think, or is it just
Well, if the thing I showed, was it last week or no? I think it was the week before. Looked at the strategy of the Game Week 26 wildcard was really structured, right? It was wildcard and then free hit and then bench boost. So all of those ships got burnt. Yeah. Whereas the triple captainers, it's just all over the place. There's some people out of this 15 who haven't used any yet. There's some that have used free hit and bench boost, and the wildcard it's completely all over the place. So it really is that kind of difference between that rigorous planning for that set period, or people like me who are just like, I'm just going to kind of wing it and just use it kind of as and when I can. And now the bench boost for me is kind of off the table this week. So I'm going to have to leave it for another few weeks.
What have you got left? The bench boost and a free hit?
Yeah.
What's your theory on the free hit?
I'm just going to use it in 27. I'm hoping West Ham
using it in 27. You have got the ability to go back in time, then, have you? Use 37. It in 37. Yeah. Right. that would explain a lot, though. That would explain your season.
Would, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would. Yeah, 37. Yeah, because City get a double game week in 37 if West Ham get through, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. Although I've looked at 37, and part of the reason why I'm debating the free hit this week is 37 doesn't look that attractive, to be honest. So, yeah, I am torn again now.
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to the free hits in a sec. Fixture wise, this is obviously we're going into double game week 33. So the teams with double game week, I'm sure most of you know this by now, but it's Leicester, it's Arsenal, it's Manchester United, it's Southampton, it's Newcastle, and it's the mighty Brighton with, I think, probably the worst double game week I've ever seen for a team. Spurs away in the form they're in, and then Man City away. Absolutely shocking.
Did we count Brighton's as a double game week? And when I was going through the tables and highlighting the double game week teams and players, I had to remind myself that Brighton had one. I was like, do they? I had to keep checking because no one's talked about them at all, have they?
No, I mean, there's just nothing to get excited about whatsoever. Looking at kind of 36 looks quite nice. You got Leicester with Everton, Norwich. If they get knocked out of Europe, I think there's going to be quite a lot of investment in their players. Watford, Palace, Everton, Chelsea with Wolves and Leeds. Arsenal have got another double game week. Leeds and Spurs. Spurs have got Liverpool, Arsenal. Norwich have got a double. Not going to be much in there. Villa, Burnley, Liverpool. Then you've got Liverpool, Everton, Leeds. There's a lot. This could be a big week. So I mean, this could be free hit time. It's just the beauty of 37 is you potentially got this Man City double with West Ham away and Wolves away.
But can you not buy Man City en route to that?
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
the games are good enough.
You can, and I'll definitely be getting Cancelo in next couple of weeks. If Foden's injured now though, which we're not sure he is.
He's still on.
Is he still on?
Yeah.
He's still on. Okay.
I think what you're looking for going into 37 is certainty of start for some players like Mahrez who no one else would have. I mean, really, you're only going to if you were choosing players now for that, you go De Bruyne and Cancelo, and that's about it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the beauty of the free hit is you can gamble on the third one. Yeah,
But,
maybe Foden.
Surely the free hit in 36 or 37 is more enticing. I mean, okay, 37, like you say, Mark, isn't that amazing. I mean, you've got Chelsea in there. Although there is talk that United game might be moved, right? And that might give them a double game week in 34. That's what I've seen from Ben Crellin today.
34, 35, yeah.
Yeah. But that
I think the
36 looks like there's teams to invest in at least.
I think the free hit in isolation, in terms of the games and the quality of teams that you would pick, is useful in those weeks. But we're likely to have loads of doublers already. That's the thing, isn't it? So it's compared to the team you've got already. So this week, for example, as much as the free hit doesn't really entice me too much, I think I've only got 3 doublers in my team. So even if you just take appearance points, right, and I suddenly put 11 doublers in there, I'm bound to make points on my original team just by sheer volume, as long as you can find a player who plays twice, because it's easier said than done these days, isn't it? But that's the thing. I'm going for sort of 2 or 3 doublers to 11, whereas in 36 and 37, I may be changing, to 10 to 11 or whatever it is, or maybe not even adding any at all. So it's not a guarantee, is it, that you're making up just that base level of appearance points on the other team?
Quality over quantity, though, surely. I mean, I did a
But you've
stream
already
earlier
got the
with
quality
Gianni.
potentially, haven't you? That's the thing.
Yeah, you have. I mean, I did the stream with Gianni earlier, and looking at the team he's looking to invest in. Double United this week, Fernandes and Ronaldo. So he's going without Salah. He's going to have to go without one of Salah or Kane, for example. He's getting rid of like Reece James and Havertz, who have got Arsenal, but they're playing well. Bringing in like 3 Newcastle players. I don't know. I don't like it.
But you've got it all over again in 37. Look at 37. Spurs are at home to Burnley. And Arsenal are away to Newcastle, and Liverpool away to Southampton. Right, so for me, I've got 3 Spurs, 2 Arsenal, and 3 Liverpool. Right, so if I'm free hitting in 37, I've got to give up some of those players playing Southampton away, Newcastle away, and Burnley at home. It's the same all over again.
But you've potentially got Man City, Chelsea, a decent-looking Palace double, a decent-looking Villa double, if that fixture falls
Am I
into
picking Zaha over Kulusevski? Zaha
But
2 games
also-
for Kulusevski, 1 game when he's at home to Burnley. It's not that easy, I don't think.
Won't we
well,
be
it's not
signing
that.
the City and Chelsea players now for the run to the lead up as well? That's the point, isn't it? Wouldn't you be looking at those kind of teams? I would have thought
Yeah, I
that they
mean-
would be top.
If I had the option to bring in Cancelo and De Bruyne now easily, I'd be making moves towards that. So I am thinking of that anyway. Right? That's the thing. It's not like I don't design to have a City player or 1 or 2 before 37 anyway, which is why I'm looking at it going, I don't know if 37 is much better for me, because I agree with you. As I look at my team this week and go, well, I'd have to go without some of the single game week players that have got good fixtures. But I look at 37 and think that all over again. I mean, there's no way I'm not going to play Kane at home to Burnley, is there?
Well, no. I mean, you're going to keep a couple in, but you're going to do that no matter what week you play it.
I don't know. Like the models literally have none of those single players in for this week, and it makes sense. I think on paper this week, pure mathematics, it makes sense this
But
week.
you're not going to go Ward-Prowse over Son, are you?
Well, the models do.
Yeah, exactly. This is the point when we get to the free hit.
You become a
teams I wanna
model man,
discuss.
Luke. I don't know what's happened. You've been talking about expected
Listen,
points.
am I likely
lately,
to trust
models?
myself, who's coming 100k, or a model? Do you know there's a bloke on Twitter who has copied the model's move every single week from the very beginning, and he's something like the top 1k. He's literally not.
They've got you. Analytics
I'm going to
FC
call you
has got
Kraftwerk.
No, but I can see the merit. At the end of the day, we always look on the negative side, don't we, as managers? We look at this week and we say, right, well, there's loads of really good players with really good fixtures and high EO. So Cancelo, Kane, Salah, need I go on? If they score well, they are going to punish and destroy my free. And that's what we think of. We think of the negative.
Yeah.
But really, we should be thinking of, well, we've got a single versus a double, and the models are telling us that it's better to have the double players. That's the way we should be looking at it, but we don't, because inherently we think we're going to get punished. Now, I like what you were doing there, Mark. We're saying 37, how am I going to get punished in this one? Yeah, Kane v Burnley is one of them, isn't it?
I know.
In 36, how can you really get punished that well? Because I think the free hit team, like my free hit, the team I would change from to the free hit team, I might change a few names here or there, but I can't really get punished in that week. But that's not how we should be looking at it, right? We should be looking at EV and not EO.
Opportunity, I know, I agree with you, but it's a natural thing though to be nervous about taking single game weekers out with good fixtures. And the models are never going to then the models are never going to have the likes of Kane, Son, Cancelo on double figure returns, even if they have a good fixture. They're always going to be around 5 or 6 because the models have to kind of average it out over a number of simulated games, right? So they're always going to be. If you look at Son and Kane this week on the models, they're about 5 or 6 points, and obviously the likes of Ward-Prowse, etc., are on more than that and beating them. But that's, for me, that's the weakness of a model, in that it can't look at a one-off fixture and go, what's the likelihood, for example, that Liverpool put 3 or 4 goals past Manchester United? I think there's a chance of that, right? So in the back of my mind, there is that chance that Liverpool could give Man United a tanning, and it's not going to be 1-0, which is probably, the model is probably predicting like a 1-0 or 2-1 or a low-scoring game in that fixture, given the legacy of data that you've got for those teams. Whereas I think if you look at it more short-term, as in United are struggling, Liverpool, obviously now it's about goal difference because they're still behind Man City and goal difference could be a factor. They could push on and try and win the game 3 or 4-0 if they're on top. So I don't know. There are weaknesses to models, right? They're not. Then they've got to hedge their bets in a way, haven't they? Right?
They're usually not fast, yeah. But I think also, I mean, there's nothing to say that Man United can't beat Norwich 5-0, is there? I know it doesn't feel like it at the moment, but if you're going on historical data, which you just said there, that's why Man United will look good in that, because they're playing home to Norwich, and you'd expect that would be a good score. I'm not saying it's going to be a good score.
Have you predicted 5-0 to Man United in your prediction?
No, I haven't. No, I have not. No.
In their right mind.
But yeah, I just think if it was Man United home to Norwich and it wasn't a double, people would usually look at them. But because their form is bad, we look away.
I think everything you said is absolutely bang on. I think the key thing for me though is there's not many weeks between now and game week 36, and how many Chelsea and City have got 2 really nice doubles. Potentially it could be City with Newcastle and Wolves, depending on what happens in Europa and all that, and it could be Chelsea with Wolves at home and Leeds. How many of those players am I going to be able to get realistically by game week 36? 2, maybe. Well, on that free hit, I can have 6.
Yes, but only Rudiger and Mount might play twice. Only De Bruyne and Cancelo might play twice.
It depends on what happens in the cup, right? If they're out of all competitions, Mount will play. Mount and Havertz will play every game. Why wouldn't they? They'll play every game to the end of the season.
I think there's a small sample of players in the Chelsea team that are guaranteed to play twice, right? And I think...
Yeah, but it's 3 quite obvious ones in James, Havertz and Mount.
Yeah, but they're 3 players that people who aren't got the free hit, they could have 1 or 2 of those, right? So the impact of your free hit is
but
like if
I haven't got any Chelsea or any City.
Okay, I get
moment.
it. Yeah.
So I'm going to be able to get a max of say 3 maximum, and even that's not that easy to do. But if I've got that earmarked for 36, knowing that Chelsea and City drop into it, then I just think that's a good week to
37,
do it. Because they're just better. I don't trust any teams in this. But
you've
got to
look at who you're. You've got to be comfortable then taking out players from Arsenal, Spurs, and Liverpool who have got good fixtures but single game.
Well, no, because you focus on those teams, right? You go Spurs, you go Liverpool, and then you go Chelsea and City.
Yeah.
And you just try. They're 4 of the top teams in the league with good.
So you hedge it. Yeah, you hedge it, which is what I've done on my free hit selection I've got tonight, which is totally against what analytics are saying you should do, right?
Yeah.
And models are saying you should do.
I think there's one thing that maybe Luke is head of the analytics crew now.
One thing that I could point out though is you do lose a free. I know you lose a free transfer in both scenarios when you use a free hit, but losing one earlier does actually have a knock-on effect, doesn't it? Because we want to get these good teams, because these, as we keep saying, these teams have got good games in the lead up to these doubles later on 36-7, and they're the best teams in the league as well. So there is something to be said for if you use your free hit, you get to, for example, not fix Doherty because you probably got him in your team right now when he comes back. We got Coutinho, he seems like a problem. So there are some other side factors that play into this. I think when you want to use that free, you have to take that on board. And yes, you'll lose that in 37, but I don't think it will have as a negative connotation at the moment. It might do when we get there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So there is that factor. And obviously, if you play your free hit in 36-7, you've got the latest information, but then you're missing out on the points here. It's really, for me, if your team just fails, if it just totally is awful, when you look at the appearance points, simply going from 3 doublers to 11 should, on paper, be up most of the time when you play it. And this is the week where you're going to gain the most doublers out of all of the ones left, I would have thought. I think it's this or 37. I don't think 36 makes much sense unless your team's just awful and you want to pick the best team. In 37, we're going to have Everton and Villa players, aren't we? Which is going to be a similar thing.
I think what I'm hoping for 37 is there's someone like Alonso who's obviously going to play 2 games, who would be a low-owned player. Well, it could happen, right? If Sarr gets an injury, or it's obvious that Sarr's out of favour and Alonso's going to start every game.
I've been eyeing him
that's
up.
The kind of player. Yeah, that's the kind of player you want to move to with the free hit, because he won't be high-owned amongst non-free hit managers, and he's got a high ceiling if he does play 2 games. And you look at City, and it's the same kind of thing. Ideally, is you get to 37 and it looks odds on Mahrez plays 2 games, and then he does, and you can get him in. That's the kind of player you want to get. A bit like
in the blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other problem, isn't it? You never know who's going to play with bloody City. You can wait all 37 weeks to use your free hit to bring in City players and then get it completely wrong. Luckily, we've got our City guru on the black, so he can tell us.
Got Jesus starting against Liverpool, didn't I?
Did you get that one, Luke?
Yeah, he nailed that.
I did. I did.
Right, let's move on. Mark, last week Luke went on a very, very impassioned rant about Salah and why we should all keep him in our sides. Excellent. Used multiple swear words, some kind of
sorry about that.
off-piste analogies. I think we'll say.
Did he get us age rated on YouTube?
He did. Yeah, we've had many complaints.
I didn't know this. I'm sorry, guys.
We haven't had any complaints.
I'll let everyone down.
But Mark, thought it'd be good to get your take on it. And you sent me this chart, which is from 23 Toolbox. Do you want to just explain a little bit about this chart and what it kind of means and what your thoughts on Salah are going forward?
Well, it basically just shows Salah's recent data compared to other players in his position, right, in recent times. I don't know what is the actual interval.
It says at the top.
Is it? Okay, so it is, yeah. So I think it probably just backs up what Luke was saying last week. The things that are missing is the output, is the goals and assists. Right? Other than that, the data hasn't dropped. Well, we'd love to be able to do a comparison of his data and see that there's been a drop off in form, because it's almost like when Salah dips a bit, you want a reason to get rid, and you go to the data to hopefully find one. Well, if you go to the data to try and find one at the moment, you won't find one. You'll find confirmation that he's still producing at a very high level. This chart illustrates that. I think the point is that obviously it's tempting to go Salah to Son, but the reverse could happen. If you make that move, then suddenly the output could switch back and it could be Salah who delivers. I think United's a very good fixture for him as well. He normally struggles against Luke Shaw, because Luke Shaw somehow can play him quite well, in my experience from watching him. Telles, not so certain. I've got a feeling that Salah might get more joy out of Telles. So I think, personally, although I'm tempted to move Salah out and go De Bruyne or Son, I think there's too much in the data, the underlying data, to support the fact that sooner or later the output's going to revive. And as we know with Salah, it can arrive spectacularly.
It's classic data versus points. Classic data versus points, isn't it? Because the Salah to Son move looks. If you were coming into this, maybe one of our apprentices, Henry, for example, and looking at recent points, looking at Salah, looking at Son, and thinking, why on earth wouldn't I can save 2 million and get 30 extra points over 3 weeks? You'd obviously do it, but the underlying stats here, this is, for anyone wondering kind of what the chart shows, it's basically Salah compared to, and it says the 5% of the wider footballing population. So basically, if he's at the top, he's in the top kind of 1%, whatever. And as the kind of bar comes down, he moves out of that. Basically, he's in the top of everything, of every category. Shots, assists, shots attempted, touching the opponent's box, dribbles attempted, post-shot XG. The only thing, like you said, Mark, is goal score. That's the only one that's kind of massively lacking. Luke, did you think he was playing with a smile on his face? That was your big thing last week, wasn't it?
Has Luke got an opinion on this? I don't know.
Not like him, is it?
No.
Like I said before, if you're doing it for form reasons or for output reasons, you need to sit yourself down and have a look at what you're doing, because I can understand it because he's playing Man City, or it's for structural reasons, or you're chasing EO, double game weeks, Fernandes, absolutely no problem with that. I only had an issue if you're removing him because basically he hasn't scored in the last few weeks, and suddenly there's a little bit of a narrative, he's looking upset and he's missed a few chances. Yeah.
Well, that was the narrative on Son as well. People were saying Son's out of form for the same reason.
And this is why you can get massively punished if you just use, previous outcomes and previous points. And I think over the long haul, it won't always work that way. Salah could have not returned versus City and blanked another 2 games. As long as the data's still good, you're probably good to trust it, right? Most of the time. I mean, does anyone foresee a world where Salah is suddenly done as a player? Like, that was never the conversation, was it? It was just they didn't feel he was quite in the.
I guess
if you play like that, it can change so quickly. That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, just look at Son. He's the perfect example. He didn't look like he was right. Even the manager was having comments in the press conference asking, was he going to drop him and stuff? And he's like, you must be ridiculous. I'm not going to drop him. He's getting subbed 20 minutes before the end of the game, which I think he did again this week, but it was after he scored a hat-trick this time, and he was beaming ear to ear.
He didn't get subbed early enough for me, but yeah.
Structural reasons, not a problem, but I just think...
The question is, I guess, is there's only, 7 weeks left. Who scores most out of Salah, De Bruyne and Son? And can you add Fernandes or Ronaldo into that, given that United are going to have 2 more?
Oh, it's about combinations of players, absolutely. And if you're not going to captain Salah, it's always the way. If you're saying, I'm not going to captain Salah, I'm going to spread my funds, I'm going to do that, no problem. But I think Salah's looking like the best captain in a lot of these games, to be honest.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, versus Man United stands out this week straight away.
But there is EO justification for doing it, as when we get to my free hit team, I'll talk more about that. Yeah.
Yep. He's a hold for me anyway. Team defence. So what we've done with all our defence and attack data and all our kind of play data is we've basically focused on the teams with a double game week. So over the season, if you're looking for kind of the best defensive team, it's Arsenal. They're not without their problems. Playing Xhaka at left back did not work. Partey being out as well probably didn't help. But they're the best over the season. They're also the best over the last 6. I reckon if we turn that back to the last 2, they probably dropped quite a lot. Yeah. But that's the kind of puzzle for Arteta to kind of work out, isn't it, Mark? What did they bring Tavares back in? I mean, they can't play Xhaka at left back again. It was just
they took
disaster.
Xhaka out without Partey there, which is a lot of Arsenal fans pointing to Arteta and saying you're thinking he's made a mistake there. You don't take both your central midfielders out of central midfield, do you? But he did, and it didn't pay off. I think they've got to change their attack, right? They're going to have to be more expressive and score more goals. They're not going to win games 1 or 2-0. They're going to have to win 3-2, 4-2, that kind of thing.
Which has not been a thing under Arteta, has it?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't play like that.
I was just going to say, I don't know if you guys agree, but since Arteta came in, it took him a long time to find the formula that seemed to work, didn't it? There was lots of trials and tests and good signs and goes back and forward. And I think, losing those 2 players, I know it's very short term, but these are the things that, like we talk about the modern stuff, they don't react to as quick because these are tactical changes or injuries that maybe you can take advantage of sometimes. And they rate Arsenal very highly still. And I have no doubt that they could still do okay, but I just think how hard it was for Arteta to find the magic blueprint that seemed to work for them, and then quickly they changed these pieces. I mean, Aubameyang leaving, Lacazette dropping in, all of this. And now it seems, I don't know if you've seen today, but Lacazette wasn't even in training as well. So that's maybe another issue for them.
Oh, don't say that. I can't be dealing with another one.
So suddenly it becomes more questionable, doesn't it? Rather than just the outcome, because let's face it, it was a surprise that they lost that game. I mean, Brighton are supposed to be on the beach and can't score a goal for 8 months, and suddenly they turn up. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like Arsenal are on a bit of a downward trajectory, but they've still got some okay games, haven't they? And Saka's data was still actually good last week.
What's your take on this? Because I'm still considering Martinelli, and a lot of people talking tonight because Lacazette wasn't training that Martinelli could be up front, Martinelli could be on penalties. But obviously at the moment we're talking about a team who have just lost 2 key players in Tierney and Partey, and if Lacazette is out, that's another key component of the way they've been playing, because Lacazette's been dropping deep, letting the wide runners, inverted forwards get beyond him. That's not going to be the case with Martinelli. He's not going to do that role. Do you just avoid, or do you think the flip side is Arsenal will have to approach games and think we've got to score more goals because we know we're going to let one in at the other end? What's your take on that, Luke? Because I know you're a Martinelli fan as well, as am I. So what are your feelings?
Yeah, I think he's great. I just think it's unknown. We just can't know, can we? Everything I've seen from Arteta and the way that Arsenal have set up, like I say, has not really been a team that just can blow teams away with loads of goals. They had a period where they were playing very well this season, don't get me wrong, and they were scoring a few, but even that dipped off a little way. I just think it's hard for a manager to complete and the players to learn a new system, and they could just suddenly start firing with Martinelli out front because he's a fantastic player. But it seems a bit of a reach to just say that that's just going to start happening because, yeah, it's a change and it's obviously not his preferred setup.
How long is Partey out for?
I think it was. I'm not sure actually.
Is it the season or is it a few
I was getting
weeks?
confused with Tierney. He's pretty much out.
Tierney's out for the season, I think. I'm not sure what Partey's
Partey was
There's
just playing
no
very
return
well.
date at the moment.
No return date. Yeah.
It's a risk, isn't it? It could go either way. You could say gung ho, it's going to work. Travers is going to come in and play well. They're going to cope with Partey, and Martinelli up front is going to be amazing. But we don't have anything to back that up.
I'd happily have none of them going forward until I saw some signs they've learned to adapt.
I think Saka's still okay, just because his price is good, and like I say, his data's still good. He's still a very good player, isn't he? But it does feel like they're on a bit of a downward trajectory.
And this is another factor that's making me think about the free hit, because I've got Saka. And I'm thinking suddenly he's not as valuable, but maybe he's not as valuable now because maybe against Southampton and Chelsea, the likelihood of returns, given the disruption to the team and the way they play, has been major. Maybe Saka's not. I think a lot of managers who were free hitting, who were looking at Saka and thinking there's no way I can get rid and get Sancho or another and a player elsewhere, and now maybe thinking maybe Saka is disposable in the free hit.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking of captaining him this week though. When we see my team at the end, well, it's really tricky to know who to go for in this week. Like, is it if you're going to go for one of the double game week players? You look at Leicester, you look at Maddison and Barnes. It's hard to know who's going to play in that. I haven't got any United players. I'm not going near Southampton. I'm going to talk about some of their data in a second. They look like they're completely done. Who else is there? Or do I just play it safe and go for Kane or Spurs? But like Luke says, there's always that temptation, isn't there, to go for one of the doublers.
Yeah, Southampton away, as we saw, Southampton can
exactly.
absolutely capitulate, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't know that about Lacazette not training. That's really bugging me.
Well, it could be nothing, couldn't it? But today, apparently, he's not training.
Yeah, it's probably not nothing, though. He's probably got fed up with him. He probably said to him, this is your... everyone.
I don't think he wouldn't train just because he's fed up. That would be really harsh. You're that bad. Get out. It's obviously going to be.
I'm not even going to let you train with us. Don't get changed. Go home.
Florent Malouda style. He was put in the reserve group, wasn't he? Other end of the table. Southampton are there over the last 6. They've had the 5th best fixtures. According to my debatable fixture rankings, but second from bottom with the 5th best fixtures is awful. They've just completely gone, and we saw this happens under Hasselhoff, doesn't it? They have a performance or a couple of performances of them every year where they concede a couple of goals and they just get absolutely pounded. Werner, we'll talk about him in a bit.
I think he battered them last time, didn't he?
He battered them last time, high line, as I kept shouting, but he battered them again. He hit the post 3 times? He could have had 5 goals in that match.
I think this is the thing with Southampton, and obviously the outcome suggests it with 2, sorry to mention it again, 2 9-0s and a 6-0 now. But out of all the teams, they try to go toe-to-toe with some of the top teams and the way they play, don't they? They push up high, they try to impose their game, and therefore they're leaving themselves open to get battered by a better team because their players, man for a man, are just not as good, are they? So it's really crazy because they can put in a performance, and that's always the worry. You think, I could captain a player against Southampton, they might get battered 9-0, but at the same time, they might win the game 1-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they are obviously a very good team the way they're working. I still think he's a great manager. He's working wonders with the players he's got, but
you're not a supporter of the beach factor, are you, Luke? You don't put stock in that at all.
Not really. I just think. It could be. Let's say Southampton are on the beach, but I just. Can you rely on them not to turn it around? We've seen this so many times with Southampton. Even after the 9-0s, I think they suddenly turned it round, and they weren't in beach time. They were middle of the season. So, you look at Brighton beating Arsenal. There's loads of teams that had to win recently. Man United had to get top 4 and they lost to Everton. You could say, well, Everton won it. I don't know how much you can rely on it. I'm not denying that it might be a thing for some players, but I think players are so individualistic now, and they're more worried about themselves and the stats and the managers and their records that I don't think it's really a collective, we're all just going to not bother in this week.
I've always felt that relegation sort of threatened teams when they're safe. Why wouldn't that help them play? Because
Norwich aren't technically down or still fighting but suddenly they put in a performance.
Exactly. The nerves you've got when you're down the bottom of the table, knowing that if you put any foot wrong and a goal gets scored, and you relegate your team and cost your club millions, and you get liquidated, all that kind of stuff. Look at Brentford. Now Brentford are kind of safe-ish.
Palace beat Arsenal.
Palace 3-0, as well.
And then they lose. It just seems random to me. I think the bottom line to me is the team strength is still trumps all of that. You can factor these little things in if you like, and I'm sure maybe you can get on the right side of them every now and then, but ultimately the bad teams are still bad and the good teams are still good. I think
the one stat that stands out for me is that Southampton big chances per minute, or minutes per big chance, 24.5 is by far the lowest in the league over the last 6 game weeks. The nearest to that is Brighton. I know it's Norwich, 31.8. So Southampton are allowing big chances, right? And that's reflected in their minutes per XG conceded as well, right? So they're second bottom, again, only to Norwich on Burnley. So there's something afoot there with their defence, because they have been solid for some periods of this season.
Salisa's looks incredible in periods.
He has. So what's gone on? I don't think they're not missing a key player as far as I know. I mean, I don't think they've got any key injuries. So something's gone wrong, and given that their fixtures haven't been that tough either over the last 6. So
the trouble is how do we kind of make use of that information? Because especially this double game week, you've got 2 attacks that we're not really trusting. You've got Burnley and you've got Arsenal. So, and
we've also got a history of Southampton doing this and then
absolutely
suddenly turning it around.
And
so that's
back.
what I mean about the reliability. Would anyone be surprised if Southampton suddenly put in a performance? I mean, maybe they would be, but I don't like to think that Ralph will just sit there and go, yeah, that's it, boys, that was fine, we'll go out and do that again. If we're talking narratives and stuff, they're going to give him a kick up the arse, aren't they? I mean, he doesn't want that embarrassment on his record.
And that's another reason why maybe backing Arsenal in this double game week is dicey, given that Southampton could turn it round and they can get a result at home against an Arsenal team lacking key players and lacking confidence, having lost to Brighton. Yeah. And then Arsenal go to Chelsea. And really, that Arsenal-Chelsea game, much of that depends on what Chelsea reaction is going to be from last night. Did they come out of that demoralised, or did they come out of that with renewed vigour in the league? That's hard to know as well, isn't it?
I mean, just Southampton being 13th, 14th-ish for goals conceded across the season is just a better metric, I think, overall to use. They're still a pretty poor defence.
No manager changes, no key injuries to the side. You think? Yeah. I mean, it is interesting though when you look at the last 6 compared to the kind of season stuff, because you can kind of try and spot these things. Largely, the teams are quite consistent across them. I mean, Arsenal were 5th in the season, 5th over the last 6. You look like Burnley, 16th over the season, 18th in the last 6. United. They're 12th over the season, 9th over. There's not huge mass differences between them. The only kind of interesting ones that stood out to me were Brighton have fallen a lot, but they've had the roughest fixtures of them all,
and they've had the Webster injury, right?
And they've had the Webster injuries. That's where this kind of stuff can kind of help a little bit. Webster's back now.
I think someone said that they've not won a game since Webster's been out. I don't know if that's correct, as you might know, but he seems very key to them if that's the case. But
well, yeah, I mean, the run we were on, the 7 losses in a row, whatever it was, and 1 goal scored was with him out.
He's class, isn't he? So.
Oh, he's the most important player. He's much more important than Dunk is. I think you can take Dunk out of that team and we kind of largely are okay. But you take Webster out and it's a complete shambles at the moment. The other teams I just want to mention, Leicester on the rise, 18th over the season, 13th over the last 6. Obviously, it's really hard to predict who's going to start for them in defence. But if you can get in on like a Castagna or a Schmeichel with a penalty save, fortuitous penalty save for his own.
Just as everyone starts moving to him as well.
Typical.
Classic fantasy timing.
Absolutely, yep. So they're on the rise, and Newcastle as well from 14th to 10th over the last 6. So obviously there's lots of investment in players like Shah and Dubravka, and they had a big loss against Spurs and bounced back with a really impressive performance against Wolves. So, what do you take from that? But I think Newcastle are a team that we wanted to see that kind of performance, especially from the defenders, given that they're going into this double with 2 good home games. Yeah. Let's take a look at attack. So over the season, again, Arsenal are 5th in this, Man United are 6th. Last 6, though, how interesting is this? 5th team for attack is Southampton in terms of the minutes per expected goal involvement on penalty. So the defence has been absolutely awful, but they have been creating chances as well. So, people are going off the likes of Broja and Che Adams and, not seeing too many people investing in Ward-Prowse, but it's the Livrabentos and the, Walker-Peters that probably need to go, isn't it, Mark? And maybe it's the Southampton attack that we can
This points to a free hit gamble on an Adams or a Ward-Prowse, doesn't it? You would think. I mean, they've had the fixtures, so they've had Norwich in this run of games, haven't they? Just trying to think who else they played in this run. Let's have a look. So they've had Leeds, Watford, Newcastle, Villa, Norwich, right? So they're really good opponents, right, who've given up opportunities. So the fixtures have definitely played a part in this data. It's really how much has that 6-0 taken out of them, right?
Yeah.
But I think we've seen before, off the back of a mauling, they've reacted really positively, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again. So I think, an Adams or a Ward-Prowse, I wouldn't go overboard and have both, but one of those in a free hit probably makes some sense, right? If you're looking for an EO gain.
Yep.
You don't like Broho then, Mark? Because I know we're big fanboys, and I've still got him in my team.
I'm sticking with him. 1-2-2, 1-2-2-2. That's his last 7 game weeks.
I might get him in,
Oh, God. That would
You're
cause some
not
drama.
allowed. You're banned from the Broja fan club, I'm afraid.
That would be
him.
typical
Always
that you bring him in and he finally actually gets some points the week that it happens.
No,
then.
I'm
In fact, I don't
cursed.
mind.
And we bench him.
I'm cursed at the moment. I don't know if it's...
If I don't free hit, I'm starting him. There's still a top 10 attack and the double's not great, but it's a double. I can't put him on the bench. He might only play one of them, but I suspect he comes into the team and plays the majority of minutes, don't you, Mark? Or am I just being optimistic?
Bro, yeah, well, he didn't play against Chelsea because he couldn't. So I think there's a good chance he plays both games. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is he's a lone player, right? So at the end of the season, is he more inclined to give Adam Armstrong a run out because he's their player, whereas Broha's going back to Chelsea, right? They're not going to sign Bro. I wouldn't have thought. So I think there's an element of lone players maybe missing out on more games than they would over these last few game weeks because
It's got to be Adams,
clubs are looking to the future.
It's got to be Adams.
It is Adams if you have
I still prefer Broho. I don't know why.
Oh, so do I.
I think
Better
he's just got something special about him to come.
Yeah.
I know it's not based... Adams' data is actually slightly better, I think, but losing 6-0 and he wasn't
More
in the
than
team,
slightly.
that can only be a positive for him to come back into the team, can't it?
Yeah.
I know he's not responsible for defending, but you like to think that his pressing and stuff, his energy would be beneficial.
United, 6th over the season in terms of minutes per XG non-penalty, and also over the last 6 as well, despite having being 17th on the fixture rating. So they're still creating chances. They can't score, but the data here suggests that they are creating chances, which is kind of not what I'm really seeing, because I'm seeing a team that's really struggling to move the ball around and create decent chances. But the data indicates that they are, maybe it's the sheer amount of, kind of smaller chances that they're getting. I mean, the minutes per XG of 57.4, minutes per big chance of 45 minutes. I mean, that's one of the worst sort of out of the top 10, top 11 teams. Only Arsenal, 54 minutes, is kind of worse than that out of the top 11. So what do you make of United going forward, Luke? I mean, the investment's there, isn't it, on the free hit? That's the team that people are going to be targeting purely for that Norwich fixture. The data doesn't suggest it's a terrible idea.
No, I think Man United are very much this week or not at all. I think there's been, pretty much a theme for most of the season is you don't have anyone from Man United unless you have Ronaldo at a period in time, but he's not of any use now, is he? Really, and it's really just for this week, and that's why the free hit sort of appeals in that regard, doesn't it? Because you can get them in and then just jettison them straight away. I mean, what does anyone think the Liverpool score is going to be? I mean, does anyone think they're even going to get a goal against Liverpool? At the moment, to me, it just feels like Liverpool are going to thrash them. I don't know if I'm right. It's going to be 3-0 to Liverpool or 4-0.
I predicted 3-0. I
think I've gone 3-0 as well.
Okay. So, obviously, you can get some points in that game. They could jam something. We put 2 down for that. It's basically versus Norwich, and home to Norwich is still one of the best games in the calendar, isn't it? As bad as they've been, and even Norwich, just to add to it, won last week. If you're using form and the team suddenly looks good.
It's the best game over the season. They've got the worst minutes per XG non-penalty, and also over the last 6, despite having the 4th best fixtures, they're still bottom. So it's the best fixture imaginable on paper.
Yeah. If you're going to free hit, I don't see how you don't have a Man United player in your team. I mean, you're going to put 1, 2, 3 in there.
You have to go 1. I think you have to go. You don't have to, but
I think it's basically Telles, Bruno, Sancho, and Ronaldo are the 4 options on there. I don't think there's any other options, and you can make a case for any of those, really.
Yeah,
yeah. I think that Bruno would be first choice for me. I mean, Telles if you were playing 4 at the back, I guess, and if you weren't keeping Trent or you weren't keeping a Cancelo, then Telles comes into the equation. But it's just United. When you watch them, they just look devoid of confidence and ideas, and I don't know whether the impending appointment of the new manager is going to help. There's a lot of noise about that today. Looks like it's over the line, but they just
there's been these narratives around Man United for so long. They're just not very good. I think that's the
quality
main
is
issue.
missing. Yeah, quality is missing.
Stats are okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're not good, as in they can't return it around. It's just compared to the top teams. I suppose that's the thing. When you're a Man United fan, or loosely now, or I was. You're used to the glory days, aren't you? And now you compare to the teams around, and it's just nowhere to be had. But based on the rest of the season,
Yeah,
Go on,
Old
sorry.
Trafford's not that intimidating place either, is it? The atmosphere's
No.
not there either. It's not like the crowd are behind them. There's any
You still
momentum
back
in
them
that.
to win
right?
at home to Norwich, didn't you? As bad
You-
as it's
you
been,
do. You do.
you still would have backed them to win that game. And I think I can't remember what I did in the predictions. Maybe 2-1 or something. I don't think it'll be a landslide. But if you're taking 2 goals and Ronaldo's getting a part of that, or Bruno is, and then he's adding 2 points on it, it's still an okay return, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be a fixture target. Down the bottom of this list, I think it's interesting because there's 2 teams that are sort of getting a lot of investment. Leicester, they've been good in attack over the season. They're 8th. Over the last 6, they're down to 16th. Does that kind of tie into Europa League and other commitments and all that kind of stuff?
Worrying that, isn't it?
It is. I think it is worrying. They've had the 8th best fixtures. There's investments in Maddison. I mean, Barnes. What is going on with Barnes, Mark? I mean, we were here the last time you did a pod with me. A month ago or 6 weeks ago, something like that. We were both saying Barnes, he's the best option by far. Don't go near Maddison. He's got these injuries. Blah blah blah. And Maddison's blown him out of the water. It's like 20, 30 points in it. Looks the much better pick. Barnes, I mean, you could call him rested, I guess, against Palace. Was he dropped? He's been woeful, really, for the last 3 or 4 games.
By all accounts, he was shocking in that Europe game. I didn't watch the game, but I saw the stats and they were pretty horrific. I think he lost it a lot.
He just couldn't beat his man. He just couldn't beat his man. Just losing the ball over and over again. He's really struggling to find that kind of killer dribble or killer pass that's kind of made him a bit of a name in the Leicester side down that left. But yeah, it's just not clicking for him at the moment.
I mean, I've looked at data over the last 6 and the season for Maddison versus Barnes and Dewsbury Hall, and Maddison's dominating it right at the moment. Over the last 6 in particular.
Funny
you got that there.
It's funny you should mention that, Mark. 'Cause I actually have
Yeah,
that.
so I mean, I've got it in front of me here, and yeah, he apart from minutes per XGI non-penalty, Maddison's dominating over the last 6 game weeks. So I mean, I think if you had choice, if you knew Maddison was going to play all the games over this double game, both games, then I think you have to go Maddison. There's not that much difference in price. Is it 0.3, 0.4? So it's not. I think Maddison's the first choice. Right? I think you're going Barnes really as a differential against other free hit managers. 'Cause I think free hit managers in the main will go with Maddison. And I think that Barnes has probably got the potential to explode a couple of goals. Maddison might not have that in him, but Maddison's got the all-round returns with assists as well. That creativity, the set pieces. Maddison's got the more avenues to points.
When you
Just
just
makes
got that
sense.
feeling, like obviously we're talking lots of stats and lots of things, but it's kind of like a guttural feeling sometimes with FPL. And I look at Barnes in my team every week, and I just don't think he's going to get many points. And I've got that feeling with too many players in my squad at the moment. Lacazette is another one. Like Lacazette's XGI has actually been quite good. He was like 5th or 6th on the forwards last week when we were looking at it. But I just don't have any confidence in him. And once you start filling your team with these players, where you've got no confidence in them, and they don't have the extra routes into points that the likes of Maddison has with the set pieces, it just makes me think that that's a switch that I should just do, even if it's for a -4. But it's hard to kind of bring yourself to do it, isn't it? Because it just feels kind of sideways.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use a transfer to go Barnes to Maddison, but if I was free hitting it, it'd be Maddison over Barnes.
Yeah.
And the data shows that minutes per point, 12.6 for Maddison, 17.8 for Barnes over the last 6. Barnes is destroying him for touches in the box and minutes per shot, but Maddison hasn't had a single shot in the box over the last 6 game weeks. That's quite a start stat, but he still managed to generate points through the set plays, through his creativity. And he's
Great assist like he had at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that was a killer assist. That was a Harry Kane-like assist at Villa, wasn't it? So I think that there's a gap now opened up between the two of them, whereas maybe a fortnight ago it was a bit closer.
Yep, I agree. And Arsenal was not Arsenal, sorry, Newcastle were just the other team I was going to mention, because lots of people getting excited by Chris Wood. Lots of people getting excited by Maximan, apparently. He's not singing with a lot of...
I think you got that sentence the wrong way around.
And, Willock isn't there anymore. Fraser isn't anymore. Gomez, how you pronounce his name?
He looks a great player.
Something like that. I think I'm bringing him in this week. I mean, the data doesn't exactly look that encouraging. The 17th minutes per XG non-penalty over the season. They're down to 18th. Over the last 6, despite having sort of being a bit mid-table for points. But Bruno in that match, he's not a DM.
Are we calling him Bruno now? Is he allowed to be called that? Is he the new Bruno?
I don't want to butcher his I can pronounce Fernandez or Fernange as FIFA keeps telling me it is, whereas I can't pronounce Gameres. So I was going to call him Bruno. And he's the real Bruno anyway if he's coming into my team and Fernandez isn't there. So yeah, I'm really impressed with him. I think he's a player who's going to. I think next season, particularly, he could be a player who we get who features in that kind of Yaya Toure, Ramsey, annoying role for a lot of people.
I must admit, I've not really seen his fantasy potential yet, but I haven't watched that close. But for Sky, he's been very good, for example. He makes lots of passes, lots of tackles. He's just looked a really good player. But it's actually quite similar to Dewsbury Hall, I would say. Dewsbury Hall's looked really good in the last few weeks, but fantasy points, I think, is probably just a bit of a step for both of them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The only way Gameres gets in our teams next season for me is if the likes of Mane, Salah, Sterling, etc. are all forwards, and then we're picking midfielders from the likes of those players.
He's 4'9".
He won't be next season though, will he? He'll be around 5'6", I expect.
Yeah,
I imagine.
I don't. I'm going to say it now. I think he can have an impact for us this season. And I think he's going to be someone we look at.
He looks a really good player.
But who's playing around him, right? They'll have a better team next season, so you could be right. Yeah.
Yep. Data over the season before we get into kind of the last 6 data. Looking again at the kind of the double game week 33 players, it's Ronaldo who's top. Minutes per point 17. It's really kind of poor for him, but he's 9th on the list. Minutes per XGI non-penalty 135.9. Puts him in some good company. I mean, behind Sterling, Mahrez, Gundogan, who always features highly, kind of on here. Ahead of the likes of Foden, Kane, Son, ahead of all these guys over the season. He would be in my free hit draft 100%. He'd be the first.
What, ahead of Kane?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're going to go for it, if you're not going to hedge your bets, then you go Ronaldo and you don't start Kane. But I've had plenty of matches this season where I've been watching Ronaldo as an owner, and I just don't enjoy it.
He's got to be. He's got to be
right up there still, Mark. It doesn't matter, does it?
He's got to be a captain on a free hit. Surely Ronaldo has.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess so. I just don't want to do it. I promised myself I wouldn't go Ronaldo again between now and the end of the season. It's really hard to go back on that.
Even in those games, Mark, where he was terrible. In fact, me and you didn't get him. I think when Lukaku braced. I can't remember game week. I don't know, 5 something around there. He still looked bad in that game. He still managed to get 2 goals, didn't he? This is what Ronaldo does. It's Ronaldo. The argument. It's still there though. It's still there. Even though Man United look terrible, even though he hasn't looked particularly. I mean, he's not been fit for one. It's home to Norwich and it's Ronaldo.
Yeah, and when
you can get a penalty,
Norwich,
you can get a goal.
Yeah, of course. I totally get it. It just doesn't excite me. I
can understand that. No.
Yeah.
And he's clearly frustrated at the moment, isn't he? Did anyone see the video?
Yeah, and like you always say, look, if you're frustrated, you're never going to get points. If you're not playing with a smile on your face, that's it.
Or is it you don't make the players angry because then they perform? Like I don't know.
Well, it depends what narrative you want to spin. Looking at some of the other players of this, I mean, this is what I was saying. I mean, this is why to me, game week 33 is such a difficult one to get good double game week points in, because you've got Saka 18th on the list, then you've got Cavani 19th, you've got Pepe 25th, not going even any of those two, then Fernandez in 26th, then you've got to go right down to 31 to find Gabriel Martinelli. 175.9. 44th, next double game player, Lacazette. Like Maddison's 45th, Adams 55th, Barnes 68th. Yeah, there's a lot of data here. We're talking like 32 weeks of data now, and these players just aren't anywhere near. So there's no one standing out to me massively, Mark. I don't think that looks. If you're going to free hit, you've got to get in this player.
I agree. I think if you look over the last 6, I mean, you've got the likes of Cornet come into it. Martinelli does a little bit better. Adams certainly does a little bit better if you look at the last 6 game weeks data. But over the season, the players that we're considering for the free hit aren't amongst the top performers. There's no doubt. Outside of Ronaldo and Bruno, I would say Fernandez. That is Bruno, rather than the real Bruno. So, but that's the beauty of the free hit. You're not getting them in. You're getting them in for 1 week. So I think, is the fact that these players haven't been consistent over the season an advert not to play the free hit? Or is it an advert to say, well, free hit's ideal in this scenario because you're only bringing them in for 1 week, and in 1 week, any one of these players, Maddison, Adams, Barnes, Martinelli, could deliver. And that's the risk you'll take. I mean, it's a minor risk because they're in 1 week and they're gone, right? So... Yeah. I don't know if it's a pro or a con for the free hit, really. In a way, I'm still sitting on the fence whether I'm going to play it or not, because I'm still weighing up whether I think it's going to be more effective for me this week or 37. I think there's still potential there. I still think, Maddison's got the fixtures and some form to suggest that he could deliver. Certainly, Che Adams, we've talked about a few times as well. Fixtures aren't terrible. And Arsenal, how do they react to their defeat? And their injuries? Can Martinelli and Saka deliver? Possibly. It's not great, I've got to say. As we've seen for much of this spell of double game weeks, we hype up the double game weeks. Then when we look at the data behind the players that are on offer, there's nothing that screams to us, is there? And it's that case again.
If we flip it to last 6 game weeks, a couple more options kind of emerge. So Ronaldo and Fernandes are 8th and 9th on this list. So Ronaldo, again, is kind of consistently up in the top 10 season and last 6 game week data. Fernandes indicates there's some kind of upturn of form, and they've had tough fixtures as well. Adams comes into 15th on this list. Minutes per point, though, 27.9. We mock Broja for not getting points, and here I am saying how much I rate Adams. The XGI data is good, the points aren't. It's another one of those. I mean, Bruno Fernandes, though, minutes per point, 30 minutes per point over the last 6. He's not getting any. He's not really getting anything still.
You're doubling the minutes, though, aren't you? That's the thing.
Yeah,
you're doubling them in that takes
one of those games
is
Liverpool.
It is, but the minutes are still there if that's the metric you're going by, and it's suddenly they start jumping to the top, and that's why the algorithms
apparently. It's all about X-Mins apparently, like someone said. Yeah.
Saka's on here, Martinelli's on there, 25th and 27th. Cornet is an interesting one. In 28th, because you look at Burnley's double, and it actually looks probably the best. I mean, Newcastle's is good, 2 home games, but Burnley, I think that one is, West Ham, Europe again. Interesting to know who, they got battered by Brentford after that game. Tony was fantastic, and then they got Southampton, who we don't know what's going to turn up with them. So Cornet is the one that's standing out. Sadly, not Weghorst on this list, but if you're willing to roll the dice on a Burnley attacker,
I mean, all their hopes rely on Cornet, don't they? By the look of it, he's their only source of anything in terms of goals by the looks right now. Rodriguez to an extent as well, but I think Cornet's going to play both games. Like you say, the fixtures are favourable. It's whether or not they can generate him opportunities.
Yeah.
Minutes per XGI on penalty, 182.7. That is better than the likes of Barnes, Maddison, Ward-Prowse, and Bruno number 2, who we've mentioned earlier, right? So, the data suggests there's something in this for Cornet again.
One sort of perk of Barnes is that he's in the top 10 for minutes per shot and for minutes per shot in the box of all players over the last 6 game weeks. Yeah. So you mentioned that's kind of one of the big, kind of advantages of him over Maddison, for example. Maddison is in the top 10 for any kind of stat. In fact, he hasn't even had a shot in the box in the last 6 games.
But they're low quality chances for Barnes, right? Hence, that's why he's 35 for minutes per XG on penalties. He's shooting, but they're not high quality opportunities. And we know he's not the best finisher, right? He's not a composed finisher. Yep. Every now and then he can look like he's got it in him, and he tucks one away neatly. But equally, he has 4 or 5 shots that blaze over, which he should do better with. That's what we've been seeing.
It's not quite the same, but I feel like Barnes reminds me a little bit of Bowen, where it's like the signs are kind of there, but it never quite made it. And then Bowen seems to have taken that next step. Maybe it's just because they've started flying in and the outcome happens. But I don't think Barnes is too dissimilar in terms of, he's probably bubbling and it's still not there. I think with that kind of position, though, especially like when your whole game is based around getting the ball, beating your man, driving very fast towards goal, tries close control, smash it. You have to be in peak condition in any position on the pitch. But for that in particular, if you're having to beat your man constantly, have the energy, the stamina to get there, to hit the ball, to strike it, you have to be at the very peak of your powers, don't you? Which is why it was such a surprise that Barnes was really good at the beginning of the season. When he had that big layoff, and then at the beginning when they had the Community Shield and everything was like, Christ, Barnes is looking amazing, I've got to get him in. But maybe it's just because he had that rest and therefore he was at the peak of his powers. I don't know. Speculating
I fell into
again.
That trap hard.
Yeah, a lot of people did. A lot of people got Barnes in off of the back of that Community Shield, didn't they? I don't think he was anywhere near the team until that. But he does kind of strike me as that kind of player where he needs to be at the very top of his fitness to have an impact.
Yeah, I think Maddison is the play if you're going for either of them. I think that's even though the stats are good and all of that, I still think Maddison is clear of Barnes if I was going to pick one. Let's take a look position by position over the last 6. Let's start with goalkeepers. You talk about Schmeichel, Luke, people who bought him in, ready for all these runs, and they get that jammy penalty. Well, he's up to 3rd now over the last 6 for minutes per points, which arguably is the kind of key metric. So he's looking like the kind of keeper of choice, I think, for for people kind of going forward. Down the other end, 16th,
all there,
17th,
aren't they?
18th, 19th, 20th. It's all of the other double game week goalkeepers. And Mark, it's your boy, Nick Pope, down in 20th.
Yeah, I mean, Dubravka's not highlighted there. That was my error. So he's probably middle ground. And you know, it's out of Dubravka and Schmeichel in many people's free hits, isn't it?
I like
but
Dubravka.
elsewhere. Yeah. I think so with the fixtures he's got. Ramsdale, obviously, without Partey, without Tierney, is going to struggle. He's more exposed. And look at Nick Pope. Yeah, 57.3 minutes per point. He's only in the top 10 for minutes per recovery. He's making a save every 33.2, which is pretty bad, right? In fact, there aren't many, well outside the top 10 for that. So he's not even bringing in the save points. So I don't think there's much to suggest looking beyond Schmeichel and Dubravka from this data at the moment.
Yeah, agree with that, Luke?
I do, yeah. Newcastle have got a better defence than Leicester across the season. I mean, there's not much in it, but it's better on the data for expected goals conceded. And they've got the 2 home games, haven't they? Which I don't know if they count for too much, but Newcastle seem to do well there. And I just think, I mean, money's not really a factor on this free hit. When I played around with it too much, I think you can have a pretty good bench and stuff. But he obviously is a little bit cheaper if that is part of it as well. He's 0.4 cheaper than Schmeichel, isn't it? I think maybe even 0.5 now. I think Schmeichel went up, but yeah, I think Dubravka's probably the pick for me for the free hit. But there's not much in it, is there? And I think over the season, it's probably Schmeichel from this point.
Yep, I agree with that. Nothing else to add. I'm playing Dubravka over Ramsdale this week, and that just shows how far Ramsdale's fallen, really, because he was absolutely fantastic. But his data has been week on week on week deteriorating quite a lot, and I'm not too surprised to see him now down in 16th. Minutes per point of 32.1, a save every 37.5 minutes.
It's not
He's
good,
still
is
the
it?
keeper of choice on the models, just so that you know. Still the keeper of choice.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. Defence. I mean, this is just
Bad
awful.
again, isn't it?
It's really bad, and we're not going to spend too long on this one. In fact, I'm not even going to bother talking about the double game week defender options because they're all terrible. Livramento's in 10th, Walker Peters is in 12th.
One point here is this is why it's very hard to shed Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo, right, for double game week players, because you look at this and think you're only looking at clean sheets because the attacking potential of the double game week defenders is pretty low. I mean, you've got Cher, of course, who could take set pieces for Newcastle and has good fixtures. I think he's the one I've got and I like him. The likes of Livramento, Walker Peters, Duffy, Bednarak, Target, their attacking potential is pretty low. Livramento and Walker Peters the best of the bad bunch. This is why it's so difficult to shed the Liverpool fullbacks and Cancelo.
A lot of people are going, Burn and Target, for example, or Burn and Shah and and things like that.
You're relying on the clean sheets then, aren't they? Which
Absolutely.
is fair enough. Right.
But the player I do want to talk about on this list is in second place for minutes per XGI non-penalty. He's been the bane of your season, Mark. He's been the glory of many FPL managers over the years. Is Marcus Alonso. I thought his game yesterday was the best I've seen him play for Chelsea. I mean, he's had some amazing matches for them in terms of goal scoring. I thought he was brilliant in defence. I thought he was great going forwards. Are we seeing a resurgence in Marcus Alonso? He hasn't really got any competition, but still managed to find his way out of the side.
He's got Salah, hasn't he? I mean,
is he? He's not a left wing back though, is he?
No, he's not a wing back. If they play a 4 though, which they have been now and again now, and played a 4. Didn't they play a 4 last night?
They did. Yeah.
But then he's gone Alonso over Salah in that game. I guess for experience, but yeah, Alonso here. If you look at the data, he's top 10 for 5 of the 6 stats here. He's top 10 for minutes per shot in the box, minutes per chance created, minutes per BPS, and minutes per point. But that's all the back of 2 starts, so it's a small sample for him. We know what he's capable of.
Surely we can't go back to Alonso, can we?
Well, that's where 37 could come in. I think it's very, very tempting if you're looking for a differential who can be explosive. And as I have done a couple of times this season, I've gone to Alonso to try and find it, but as I've turned out, I've missed on both occasions.
I mean, Alonso's season data is nothing impressive at all. He's not in the top, I don't even think he's in the top 20, 25 of defenders for minutes per XGI non-penalty.
He is.
He is. Is he? He's ninth. He's ninth. Yeah.
No, he's in the top 6.
Maybe it's the player.
On F-Ref, anyway.
Maybe it's
for
the
combined
player
goals and
data.
assists.
For minutes per XGI non-penalty over the season, he's 363.6. So he's behind Robertson, Chilwell, Simicast, Cancelo, Reguilon, James,
Okay, so
Doherty and Alexander-Arnold. Yeah. So he's still showing up in the top 10. Right.
Player data over the season though, he's not in the top 30. So that's
No.
But Trent's in there at 29th, right? And to me, Alonso playing at wing back for Chelsea is as attacking as Alonso or Robertson, or should be, at least in that kind of expected data. And he's not in that.
Yeah,
I mean, no one had noticed him, to be honest. I didn't know you guys. I was thinking it's kind of me player. Isn't it, to get...
we always track Alonso. We always track Alonso.
Yeah,
Mark
I should have known,
himself.
shouldn't I? It's probably going to. I mean, it normally doesn't end very well, does it? When we go down this route, let's not beat around the bush. Normally, when we get him in, I mean, it looked a match made in heaven when Chilwell got injured and he was ridiculous in that position. Alonso was good at the beginning of the season when no one would have probably had him. He comes in and it was just a massive fail, wasn't it? But the games, they've got a lot of games. They've got good games, and they're out of Europe, aren't they? So it's really on the cup. So I don't know. He changes the team a lot, but I would have thought Alonso would play the majority of them. I feel like they have much better balance when he's at left wing back, as bad as he can be if teams target him. I still think it makes sense to play him there.
I couldn't believe it when he started last night, though. I couldn't believe he was in the team against Vinicius Junior. Vinicius Junior.
Yeah, well, they played him against, as we were saying before we went online, they played Junior against James rather than Alonso. I was thinking Ancelotti surely stick him against Alonso rather than James.
Yeah.
Didn't
But I mean,
understand
when I saw Alonso in that side and a 4, I thought, well, they've got no chance. He's going to get absolutely ruined. But they didn't seem to target him, and when he was called upon, I thought he defended really well. I'm saying it now though. I'm not going anywhere near Alonso between now and the end of the season. This is just like a giant trap. It's just barely covered with sand.
But he's a perfect free hit player for 36 or 37 because you don't get him in. You haven't got him the week after. You might get 2 games out of him, and he could do anything in those 2 games. So I think he's the kind of player we want to drop in our laps. 37.
Is he? I mean, James Mount and Havertz or Rudy. I don't know.
Well, Come 37, I'm going James and Alonso if Chelsea got that double.
You? Yeah.
Probably. Might as well. Because at that point, what have you got to lose? Well, I've got nothing to lose, but yeah.
You fall into the pit mark, climbed your way out, and then turned around and just fallen straight back in again, haven't you?
Well,
that's what's happening.
Yeah, I might as well go one more time. Yeah.
It's kind of opposite of Alonso. Let's move over to midfield. Maybe we've got a bit more interesting stuff in here.
I don't say one mad person.
Yeah,
Reguilon. I can't say his name.
He's another one who's cursed me this season.
Yeah, similar-ish in terms, similar position for a start, but also maybe slightly out of favour, maybe slightly gets injured all the time, all that sort of stuff. But his data's really good as well. I know they've only got a single, but would you not consider him even for the free hit this week? Because obviously Doherty was doing the business in that position.
But Sessegnon's back, right? So he's not even certain to start. Royale's going to start at right
well, let's
back.
say he was then.
Or Reguilon. If he was certain to start, if he was certain to start, Reguilon is a player I've considered before. I've had no luck with him. I got him in for like a good run off the back of great data, and he got nothing for me.
I wouldn't say for a run. I'm talking for a free hit. Would you pick him? So, as was just saying there, I don't fancy any of the defenders, right? I don't fancy any of them for the double, and I can understand that. I still think the Newcastle ones are okay. But if you were to pick, a player that no one probably has on a free hit,
I'd go Royale. I'd go Royale.
Yeah, I'd go Royale as well if I was going to Tottenham's defender.
Really? But then his data's much better, isn't it? So I get the Sessegnon thing, but if he says he's still not quite ready and Reggie will start, then would you not consider it?
Yeah, it's consideration. If I was going 4-5-1, yeah, possibly. But I'd probably still rather have Shah, a Liverpool defender, Cancelo,
Tellez.
The trouble is Conte doesn't like either of them. You can tell. I don't think Reguilon's fit enough. I don't think Emerson's got the quality. And moving Doherty over to left wing back is a crazy thing to do, to plug a hole rather than just play Reguilon in that. So I could see him doing something crazy, like bringing Lucas Moura on a right back and moving Emerson over to the left, or just something. I don't know. Any excuse not to play.
Now. He's talking
not to play those two.
No, I agree with Az in terms of I think it's.
Would you have said that Doherty could have played at left wing back over all the wing backs that Spurs have got at their disposal? Nor would I. That's what I mean. I think he's got methods that he wants to use and not have to play those two. So you just avoid them.
Yeah.
So you could say similar to Alonso though.
Well, yeah, that's why I would avoid him as well.
Fair enough.
I think with Reguilon, Conte knows he's only got an hour in him, 70 minutes at best, and he's got to sub him. So he's basically using up a sub by starting Reguilon, isn't he? Every game, and I guess that's a factor.
Oh, right? Bless him. He looks like he can't play football sometimes, but his data's good.
It is good. I've said it so many times. I've always thought he was like tailor-made for like a Conte system. I thought he's take away some of his defensive duties, let him just bob on an attack. He's going to love it. And it doesn't look he's got the fitness. Maybe there's injuries or what. There's obviously something. Yeah, I think
he's more like a Moreno type, I think, from Liverpool. You remember them?
Does the model like him, Luke? What does the model say?
The model likes him, but not as much as double game week defenders, Mark. I'm sorry to tell you. So it's just my little random pun.
Midfield, Fernandes up in 6th. He's the kind of the standout one, or his minutes per points that we mentioned is awful at 30. And then you've got Smith Rowe in 12th, Saka in 14th, Marcelin Cornet, as we kind of talked about. It's not amazing, let's be honest. You're laying down into Fraser if he's injured, Barnes features, Ayanusi, Jacob Murphy's ahead of my beloved Bruno Gomes. Yeah, it's really, really tricky to try and find some standout midfield differentials.
Yeah.
I think the midfield kind of... You're not going to go without Son. You're going to get Fernandes or Salah or De Bruyne or a couple of those. It's hard to find the key differentials,
I think Cornet that you mentioned earlier, this puts him in good light. And he's not in my free hit team that I put together, but I think if I was making one now, having looked at the data and considered Burnley's fixtures, I think Cornet could work his way into a midfield 5 in a free hit. I think
surprises me.
It's a good option.
Yeah. Anyone?
Yeah, over Saka basically. If you're losing confidence in Arsenal.
I don't think I could do that. But yeah, maybe. I mean,
he's pretty hard on the data, but before it was kind of the opposite. He was scoring weldies, and his data wasn't particularly that good. So it's quite strange how he's almost met in the middle slightly there. I still really like Foden.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah,
boy.
He's still just really high up on the data all the time. And he's there again, and he's still cheap price. And you get in the Man City, well, maybe not forward, but in the front three at least.
But minutes per point, 24.9. 24.9. Cornet beats that, 19.7, right? So Foden's been no output.
No,
I didn't get to 100k by basing stuff on points, Mark.
No, nor did I.
I'm giving myself an extra 30k there. Cheers. Just reminded me.
I said that quietly in case I got in trouble for slating you again. 2 players I do want to mention on this list, not double game players, unfortunately. Firstly, let's talk about Son, because Son is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. 8.4 minutes per point. His XG isn't, I don't think it's on this list, but his XG on penalties is good, but he's scoring, I think he had an XG below 1, I think, in the last game and got 3 goals from it. I mean, it's just Kane is just putting it on a plate for him. Well, I say putting it on a plate for him. Kate's creating a brilliant opening for Son, and he's just taking the chance every time because he's the most clinical finisher in the league by quite some distance. Mark, you sent me some season data for Son over the last couple of seasons. Do you want to just talk a bit about this?
Yeah, well, it's 4 seasons, and this season he's having his best for minutes per XGI non-penalty, 145.4 compared to last season at 210, season before that 184, season before that 192.6. So, the quality of his chances that he's getting this season has gone up, mainly, I guess, because the relationship with Kane is just getting better and better, and Kane's service to him is getting stronger. But minutes per big chance, he's having his best season for that as well. 110 minutes per big chance compared to 135 last season, 177 and 185 the season before that. So clearly, the quality of the opportunity coming Son's way is improving. We've always seen him outperform his XG because of his level of finishing. And when people talk about who's the best finisher in the Premier League, he's always in the conversation. He's possibly got to be the best finisher in the Premier League. Yeah.
And he's the best finisher in the Premier League by a...
I think it's just, when you just flat out the best finisher, full stop.
Yeah, so when you add that to a better quality of chance, which is what he's getting, that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing him having a fantastic season. He's got 17 goals this season. That's his best over the last 4, so he's going to beat his season best this season, I'm sure, with the final game. So, yeah, he's just having another incredible run. He's come on. His accuracy, conversion rate's the highest it's been for the last 4 seasons, so, yeah.
As good as he is, he was 3 shots, 3 on target, 3 goals. His conversion's amazing, but that isn't going to happen every time.
Well, we hope.
Yeah, we certainly hope, us 3 do, but that was particularly amazing. Literally 3 shots, 3 on target, 3 goals.
The question we've got to ask ourselves, though, is at what point, have we already missed the boat, or is Son entering into that kind of essential period? The stats are good for him, very good for him, but as Luke said, the XG wasn't that high. But in some ways, we've almost been presented with a little bit of a gift in Doherty getting injured, because we had those 3 Spurs spots completely locked in place with those 3. I wasn't going to move off Kane, Kulusevski and Doherty to the end of the season. But now Doherty's gone, and I'm looking at regular on those players. I'm not going to go there. So I have actually got that third Spurs spot available. Really tricky to move for Son.
Well, this is it. It's the surgery you'd have to do.
Without surgery, but there's part of me that thinks it's something to think about. I mean,
if I could get him in a couple of moves for a -4, I'd no hesitation. I'd get him in, right? But the only way I can get him sensibly is to move out a Salah, right? Or make several moves. And I've my structure of my team's not good, right? I've got Coutinho, I've got Broho, I've got Weghorst, right? Arguably, I should just play 4-5-1 and have 2 very cheap strikers, get rid of Coutinho and get Ramsey or Dewsbury Hall. Then I could afford Son. But that's like, you're talking about a -8, -12 to do that. And that's tying up all my transfers for the next 2 to 3 weeks or a couple of weeks in getting Son. Or I make the decision to get rid of Salah, but we've already discussed that. So, yeah, I think if you can get him for a -4 this week, you don't have to lose a heavy hitter to do it, then you should prioritise it, of course. But if you're in our shoes, where we'd have to do serious amount of surgery to do it, I think there's other priorities, right?
if you could pick one between now and the end of the season, would it be Kane or Son?
That's difficult, isn't it?
It is difficult because a few weeks ago it wasn't difficult for me. I came on here, I very clearly said I would pick Kane every single day. If you haven't got him, you need to get him. Now I'm getting a bit concerned because it's now been 4 games without a goal for Kane. Okay, he's got like a ridiculous amount of assists in that time, but the goals just aren't coming. I'm not going to do it. There's no way I'm going to make the surgery to swap Kane out and get Son in.
I think it's the same as it's always been in pure isolation. And again, the data's almost bang on exactly the same across the non-penalty X goals and XA to combine per 90. 0.72 for Son, 0.74 for Kane. So pretty much identical, right? So in isolation, you go Son because he gets more points as a midfielder and as clean sheets. But structurally, it still kind of makes sense for Kane, doesn't it? Because we just don't have any other forwards. So I don't think there's really an answer. I'd love to have both. It's not really feasible for the reasons Mark's just said for my team, but if you're in that position, then power to you.
Billy's got them both. Billy's got Son and Kane, and he's destroying me. He's beating me again. And I envy those teams who are structured in a way where they can have both. Mine isn't set up like that, and I think it's too late to make the surgery to get to it. I'm keeping Kane because Kane, it could switch back. Right, Kane could have that game where the ball rolls to him and he'll tuck the chances away. He's just
takes
not
2
getting
penalties and everyone turns their head again.
There's penalties again, yeah.
The other player who I want to just mention is De Bruyne, because he was the stand-up
just gone
player.
off injured.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's just gone off injured.
Okay, well, we won't touch him for too long then. But he was a stand-up player by far in the Liverpool City match. His ability to drive on the ball, the chances he's creating up, his outrageous shooting. He's now in the top 10, which he hasn't really been in terms of this minutes per SGI non-penalty metric. He's not a player that many people are going to move for at all. He's still going to fly massively under the radar. He would just be, I think it's easy to say De Bruyne is a good option. Like, people should be considering him. But I think if you've got a wild card left, the choice between Kane and De Bruyne, for example, is a tricky one. In fact, I would be tempted to go for De Bruyne and Son with that, I think.
Would you?
And not have Kane.
Well, and then not have Salah?
No, I think you'd make it work with Salah, Kane, and Salah, De Bruyne, and
you've got to play one striker. You've got to play one striker. Who's that one striker you're playing? Lacazette?
That's where Chris Wood comes in, isn't it?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Structurally, you've got to play one striker, right? Which is why Kane, for me, has still got that little bit of an edge over Son, because you can find other midfielders to try and cover Son, which is obviously looking unlikely, but you can go to Foden, you can go to Havertz, you can go to the Arsenal midfielders. You've mentioned De Bruyne, there's Fernandes for this game. There are no ends of options you can look for to use midfield slots up. I can't find not even one striker to fill that one slot that I need, Mark, other than Kane.
That's a lovely segue into forwards over the last 6 game weeks, because maybe, Mark, we have got a perfect forward who is top of minutes per XGI non-penalty.
You're going to say Ronaldo again, aren't you?
No, he had a fantastic game last night. He had a fantastic game against Southampton. Could Timo Werner be the answer to our striker problems?
Right.
No.
Why not?
No.
Well, he could be. I love him, but you just don't know who's going to play, do you, at the moment?
He plays.
I don't know why Ancelotti took
He
him off
plays at
against
the
Real Madrid, to be
moment.
honest.
Nor do I. It's exactly what I was thinking. They lost the game when he went off. Maybe he was tired. He looked like he injured himself celebrating as well, which was a bit
Probably
odd.
not, he's not done it in so long.
Yeah, he's forgotten to do it. You both write him off just like
Well,
that.
his
No, I don't write
conversion
him off.
rate is his conversion rate is high at the moment. Last six, what is it for the last six there? It's 16.7. His conversion rate of the season is 9.4. It's below 10%, which is behind the likes of Benteke. It's behind Josh King. This is why we've not gone to Werner before. His conversion rate is poor. It's behind some of the so-called poorest strikers in the league. Adams' conversion rate 15.9, Mopé 13.8, and then you look at Werner on 9.4. So Mopé converts more of his shots than Werner, and yet Mopé is a figure of fun even around these parts.
I
So
still wouldn't
that's
straight
the problem
write
with
him
Werner,
off.
right?
But it's very
I'm not
easy to
writing him
look
off
that way.
because-
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying it's very easy to look that way after he's just scored against Real Madrid and
Yeah,
they just played
of course.
Southampton with a high line, who he's been notoriously pretty good at. I mean, out of all the games he's played in the past, he's actually done well in that one as well. The two games have suited him. So yeah, stock's going up in Werner. Probably not anywhere else apart from in this podcast.
The only reason we're even talking about him is because of what Marcus just said. That struggle
There's
to
no
find
forwards.
even one good forward.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
we mention it every week and it gets boring.
If you said to me now, Werner is going to start the majority of games from now to the end, and what is his price? 8.6 million.
I
If I
think
had
he
that
does.
spare, maybe I could find a way to put him in as a punt, but it's not any more than a punt, is it? That's the bottom line.
No, and one of the only reasons why I'm mentioning him as well is that I've got Lacazette, and he's the same
Right.
price. He's the same price as Werner. Nice, easy sideways move.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're trying to push for the end of the season, you're looking for a rank gain, then he's worth a shot, isn't he? Because maybe he is improving, maybe he's turning the corner, maybe confidence is back, right?
I
But-
don't hate it. Honestly, I don't hate it.
No, I don't hate it. I don't
I think
hate
he's in their
it.
starting best team at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is, but then how
But for
much
how
can you
long?
take from that? Yeah, because Tuchel's just. I mean, the Chelsea predictor groups and stuff that release it are just banging their heads against the wall every week. It's been ridiculous.
I mean, it says a lot when two of my three sort of top forwards between now and the end of the season are Timo Werner and Mateta. They're literally.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never thought I'd see Adams up there, to be honest. I know it's only
No.
it's last.
It's
6
a
weeks,
ridiculous. This is why this season's an asterisk, right? It's a ridiculous season for forwards. I mean, this is why
Oh
I think.
yeah, asterisk my
I'm
season,
joking.
Martin.
But this is why they're making. This is why they're making Mane, Sterling, Son strikers next season, because they'll look at this and go, "We can't have another season where there's such
You think they're definitely
a
gonna
lack
do
of."
that?
I think it's almost certain. Yeah, because of this. Because you look at this and you think. We can't have a season where Kane is the only viable. I'm not going to get on the phone. I'm just thinking, if I was in their shoes, and I know they've talked about it before, if they're not going to do it off the back of this season, when there's been no striker options at all, and we're forced to play at least one, they've got to do it next season. They've got to go,
The
right,
only
this
thing
is
I'm
it.
going to
We
say
do it.
about that is
Yeah.
I obviously play Sky, right? And they have done this maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. They moved all of the midfielders
Yeah.
that score goals.
Well, they
into
use the
strikers.
Opta definitions. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's made strikers really, really, really hard because first of all, everyone has Salah and Kane as the two up front. So suddenly it dilutes the pool of strikers because actually you can only have one more. So really, it actually affects that. It stops the variety there. Then you go into midfield, and in Sky you can pick some of the other midfielders who don't get goals and assists,
Yeah,
right?
because of
they get
tackles
points
and
in other
passes.
ways.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
literally, if you look at it for goals and assists and look at midfielders, I'll tell you now, Conor Gallagher is right up there, Bowen's right up there, and Mason Mount just by the. I mean, he's had 4 games I think all season where he's done amazing and he's done nothing. Everyone else is terrible, and as much as I think they have to do something, I don't know if that will
But
solve
to-
it.
to me-
not
to
if they're not
me-
going to give them points in some other way.
To me, the ridiculousness isn't so much around the positions; it's the extra points they get for being in that midfield position. It's Salah getting a clean sheet point and Salah getting an extra point for a goal over Kane. That's the annoying thing. That's why I think there should be player classifications within the game. So Salah is an attacking midfielder; he doesn't get the
I've
extra
said
point.
this. I've been saying
Yeah.
this for years. I know.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Yeah. I completely
Well,
agree
I
with
don't
that.
think that they're less likely to do that. That's too radical. The move they'll do is they'll make some of those midfielders forwards next season. I put my shirt on it, basically.
It's whether they do it though in the sense that like you have different slots for different players. So if you have like, I don't think they should have like an attacking midfielder slot, for example.
Right.
You still have defenders, midfielders, and forwards, but the midfielders they're classified differently within their player profiles. You know. So rather than you pick 3 attacking midfielders or whatever, because instead of a striker, you don't do that. You keep it as it is. You just change that classification. That to me would be a simple tweak.
I think they do 5 and 5 or 6 and 4. So you literally go, for argument's sake, let's just say 5 and 5. You can have 5 defensive players. You can have 5 attacking players, and they break them up as in DMs and centre backs and stuff are obviously defensive players. You could put the full backs or the wing backs as attacking players. The centre midfielders like Henderson and stuff drop to defensive ones. There'd be an argument about who's who. I think in the excitement of the game, you probably want 6 attackers, 4 defenders. But let's say you could only have 4, and that would make it a lot more interesting. Something like that.
That's getting too complicated, right?
I don't think that's complicated.
I do. I think you're moving it away from you pick 11 players that you would want in your.
I still think you're picking 11 players. You've got to pick 4 defensively minded players and 6 offensively.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm glad I'm not making the decisions because there's some tough ones to make. And I think they've got to do something though.
If they do put Salah up front, right, and he's, I don't know, let's say he drops because he's a midfielder, right? So let's say they put him as 12 million or something as a forward. Then Firmino's got to be something like 6 million for us to even consider him.
Yeah,
They have to really affect the prices.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just quickly, just my cheat sheet. What am I doing with these webcams this week, Mark? I checked these and they were fine. I don't know why I mentioned you. Like you had any saying.
It's my fault. Right. It's too easy to blame me. We are going to do 2.5 to 3 hours at this rate. The way we're going. This is typical, isn't it?
Yeah, we did miss about 10 minutes from the
we did.
shit. Yeah. Just quickly on my cheat sheet, just for anyone who's interested in this is a combination of XGI score and fixture. Difficulty puts Cornet top in terms of likelihood of attacking returns. So there you go. For anyone looking for a punt that not many people are going to have, Cornet is a standout with Ronaldo second, Fernandes third, Adams fourth, Smith Rowe fifth, and Jay Rodriguez in sixth. There you go. Burnley featuring 2 in the top 5 just because of those fixtures against against Southampton particularly, and West Ham are looking really good. So yeah, Cornet, he's the one. Right, let's talk predictions. The screen's gone again. I'm just going to carry on. Predictions, current standings. Mark, it's interesting between us now. 52% correct outcomes for me, 48% for you. You're winning the correct scores.
Yeah. All right, we're hopefully I can meet you halfway and get you 50%. That's what I want. But yeah.
Clean sheets is really close. 42.4% for me, 43.7% for you. So only a couple in it. So yeah, everything to play for. Let's talk our fixture predictions. Let's start from the top. Spurs v Brighton, first game. We've all gone for a Spurs win, unsurprisingly. I've gone for a 2-1. Mark a 3-1. Luke, a 3-0. Come on. We're not going to lose 3-0.
Where's the Brighton goal going to come from? That's what we said at the Emirates, though, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah. Anything to say about that, Luke? Just a bit
no.
With you, really.
I thought about it for about 4 seconds, and that's what came out.
That's why we get you on this pod.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That's the content they want.
United Norwich, I've gone for 2-0. Mark, you've gone for a very conservative 1-0. Luke, you've given Norwich a goal, a 2-1. So, yeah, Mark, I mean, a 1-0, that is very conservative, surely.
I think it'd be 0-0, and they'll get a goal on the 70-minute mark and then see it out, basically.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, do you want to be free hitting when your best chance of points is with United v Norwich and you're predicting a 1-0 and we've all gone for a maximum of 2? It's not exactly.
No, I don't. And this is it. I don't want to. If I free hit, I'd only get Bruno in probably. I don't think I'd do the Kane to Ronaldo. I just don't want to do that. I think a lot of it is to do with the whole mate fantasy fun. I don't want to be watching Ronaldo against Norwich. I'd much rather be watching Spurs Kane against Brighton. I personally think, Ronaldo's against Norwich, but I don't necessarily think over the 2 games Ronaldo's ceiling is that much higher than Kane's because of the way Kane's playing. Kane's playing beautiful football, full of confidence. Brighton, any kind of Brighton team could turn up there. That I've predicted 3 goals for Spurs. Will United get put 3 past Norwich? Data suggests they could, but I just don't have confidence in United. All season I've just had no confidence in them providing any kind of consistency, and that's why I'm nervous about doing it.
Yep. Southampton Arsenal next. We've both gone for 2-1, Mark. Luke, you've gone for a draw, a 1-1. I guess not too much more to say about that than we've already covered. It just depends what Southampton team turns up.
I keep coming on this Southampton redemption arc. It's not coming. It's not happening yet, but I'm hoping
it's bound to happen at some point. Watford Brentford. This is an interesting one. I've just gone for a Brentford win, as has Luke. Mark, you've gone for a 2-2. I know you've been quite pro Watford last few weeks.
Yeah,
you gave them a win against Leeds as well, I think, last week.
Yeah, I like what they've got up front, but it's not working for them, is it? And again, they're a bit like Burnley. You looked at the fixtures and think they could get out of this, but it's not happening. But no. I still think, I don't understand why Dennis isn't playing. I don't get it, really. I think he's their best player. I've got Sarr, of course. It hasn't clicked for him. But when you get Sarr, Kuchu and Dennis in the team, they've got goals, right? Brentford are ending the season really well. I think they'll get goals. So, I think there's plenty of goals in this game. If Hodgson lets the handbrake off, and that's probably the problem at the moment, he's not playing Dennis, and he's playing much more conservative than he should be. I think they've got to go for it now.
Just say that phrase again. When Hodgson lets the handbrake off.
He doesn't, does he? Yeah. He's driving a Robin Malayan, isn't he, basically? That's the problem. At his age, was he 76? I think he doesn't do that, does he? But I think if I was a Watford fan, I'd be pleading for him to do that. Like, their best chance of staying up is to score goals.
Well, they tried that with Ranieri, didn't they? This is the thing. It worked for a while with Ranieri, and then they went the complete opposite. Yeah, they've gone from complete opposite ends of the spectrum there.
They have, and Hodgson can't strike that balance, and it's probably too late now. But
I'd say it's definitely too late for them. I can't see any way in which Burnley, Watford, and Norwich don't
forget the handbrake. He shouldn't be driving at his age. Although, did you see him put that assist in the other day?
That was
yes.
That was
there you go.
amazing.
If I can do that in my 70s, I'll be very, very happy indeed. I can't do that now. What am I talking about?
I drew one of the comments was like 0.25 FPL asset. Roy Hodgson puts in a great delivery.
XA 0.1 on
that. Newcastle, Leicester is next. Luke and I both gone for a 1-1 score draw. Mark, you've gone for a 1-0 Newcastle. In the other game, you've gone for a 1-1. I've gone for a Newcastle win, and Luke's gone for a Palace win. So we've all gone fairly different routes with Newcastle. Lots of investment in their defence. Mark, you've given them one clean sheet. That's it.
I think Howe's just trying to, it's results business for them. They just want to get some wins on the ball, some points on the ball, get safe, and then they can think about it again. That's exactly what we saw the other night with the 1-0. They played that. I predicted exactly that. I got that. That was one score I got correct, because Howe more or less said after that West Ham defeat, we've got to go back to basics, and I interpret that as, let's not take any risks. Let's keep it tight at the back. If we can nick a goal and win 1-0, that'll do for us. So that's why I've gone low scoring in these games. I think it'll be the same approach.
Yeah, I think, if they get 4 points from these two games, I think they'd be pretty happy with that. I've backed them at home to do that. Yeah, but they're a good team at home. West Ham Burnley, we've all gone for a West Ham win. West Ham have got Europe. Be interested to know what happens with them tomorrow night, but I mean, surely they have too much for Burnley in that game.
Look at this, Liverpool United.
But yeah, that's it. Liverpool United, this is the big one. I've gone 3-0, Mark's gone 3-0, Luke's gone for a 4-0 Liverpool. No goals scored for United. Easy win.
Rested their full team again tonight in the Benfica. I don't know what the score is in that, but
it's 3-3 at the moment. Yeah, they rested
3-3.
Yeah, it's 3-3. Yeah, but they're 6-4 up, so they're okay.
Not like
They rested Trent, Mane, and Salah, right? Is my understanding. So yeah, they're going to be fully rested.
Well, they've got the cup, haven't they? They've got the FA Cup.
Yeah, but
in these derby games, and they say with the history and stuff, it all goes out the window, and Man United can put a performance in. And in the past, maybe that has happened, and people can say that. But can anyone honestly see it in this game? I mean, it probably does end up being. Now I've said it, but it just feels like this is just a comfortable.
I said it to Gianni earlier. In the City would have blown any team away 3 or 4-0 in that first half if it hadn't been Liverpool. The way they were playing, Liverpool weren't at their best. And they clawed their way back into that game and got a really, really good point, I think, out of that, because City were absolutely phenomenal.
Masterclass. The way he set the team up to beat their high line was
absolutely
Klopp out. He admitted it.
It was absolutely brilliant. United aren't going to have that kind of similar kind of thing. Liverpool were just going to... They're just better everywhere. I just can't see United.
Yeah, it depends how early the goal comes, right? If they don't get a first half goal, it could just end up being a 1-0, right? But I think if they score early, I don't know whether they're going to let United off the hook. I think they'll keep coming.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's interesting tonight's selection for Jota, right? Because I think Jota's started tonight. Will he start in the Cup? Probably not. You've got to think that he'll get rested, and Jota started the game at Old Trafford, if you remember. He dropped Mane, I think he played Jota, Firmino and Salah at Old Trafford, and it went well. Went very well, right? Salah got the hat-trick, Jota got a goal and assist, I think. So Jota starts for me against Man United, and tonight's team sheet would suggest that would be the case. Like, he'll get rested in the FA Cup, as in he won't start, and then he'll start him against United. So I think Jota's an interesting player on the free hit, in that if you're looking for EO, you don't go Salah, you go Jota, which is what I've done in my free hit selection. So, yeah, I mean, let's see what the team sheet tells us from the City FA Cup semi. You've got to think that Mane, Salah and Diaz probably start that, and then I think they'll play Firmino, Salah and Jota against United is my prediction.
But realistically, I don't think it matters who they play.
No,
they've
got enough quality.
Yeah,
and Salah versus Telles is going to be interesting. As I say, Salah always struggles to get the better of Shaw. Although, did Shaw play at Old Trafford when he got the hat trick?
I think he did. I think he did.
Obviously, not in that game.
I can't remember now.
No, I'm not certain, but I know from memory that when I've had
that was
Salah
the thing leading up to that game. I remember, which makes me think he probably did play it. But
yeah,
I'd have to check.
Yeah,
I think that there's some joy in that game for Salah, but I wouldn't rule
there's
out
joy in
Jota
nearly
instead.
every game for Salah, isn't there?
Well, you think.
Two other fixtures I want to mention before we move on for this. Chelsea Arsenal is an interesting one. Big performance from Chelsea last night. Didn't have enough in the end to get through. Then they got the FA Cup. Then they go into Arsenal. I've gone for a 2-0 Chelsea. Luke's gone for a 2-1. Mark, you've gone for a 2-1 Arsenal here. What's that?
Yeah, I
lots of games.
I think it could go. I mean, it depends how Chelsea react, and it's a. So I think it's a difficult game to call this because we don't know what we're going to get from Arsenal. I hope that Arteta sets them out to be more attacking and score more than the opponents, rather than try and keep it tight and nick the games 1 or 2-0. So I'm hoping we'll see an attacking Arsenal team over the remaining games. And I just wonder what we'll see from Chelsea after last night. I wonder how they react. It could go either way. Chelsea could put on a performance and blow Arsenal away, given Arsenal's problems with injuries, but I'm going the other way. I'm going Arsenal to nick it.
Yep. Anything to add there, Luke?
No. Fair enough. I think Chelsea will win, but I can see that.
Yep. City Brighton is the final team I want to mention, just because we haven't really talked about we have talked a little bit about how great City were. We've all gone for a win to 0, 2-0 City, comfortable, 2-0 for you, Mark, 3-0 for you, Luke. I mean, I've completely backtracked on Cancelo. I watched that game and it was absolutely awful watching not having him in. Mark, you haven't got him either.
Yeah, it's worrying, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm getting him. He's in for me, without doubt.
Do you see no comfort in going Laporte, even though he's cheaper? I mean, Luke, what do you think on that? Laporte, now Diaz is back on the bench tonight, right? So Laporte's more of a risk, surely.
I wouldn't necessarily say so, because Diaz and Stones is the right side, isn't it? And Laporte and Ake, and Ake's playing very well. It does give him the option to, because Laporte's the only kind of stable one, you would say, throughout the whole season. Maybe a little bit in it, but I think with Man City it's just so hard to answer, because he prepares the team for each individual week, doesn't he? And they're obviously playing tonight. I haven't been able to watch the game because I'm obviously doing this. And then you've got the games before Champions League. He's often rotated. He has got 4 fit centre backs. They could, in my opinion, win against Watford with anyone playing. It doesn't really matter. And then you got, if they go as far as the Champions League final and the league's won, I mean, what about game week 38? That is still a game, right? Imagine they're 3 points ahead and clear, and they've already won the league and they're in the final. Then they're going to be resting on that day, aren't they? There's literally no reason to play anyone. The FA Cup could give us some signs. I mean, I don't even know if. I mean, there was a thought process that both teams could potentially rest a little bit in the cup, because it's just a lower priority competition for most teams these days. I don't think that will be the case now, because Liverpool have rested their whole team. So, Man City have played a grueling game here. Will there be some rotation? It's just too hard to answer. I still think Laporte is a really good pick in isolation. He's a good pick, like, no doubt about it. But I just think Cancelo's a better one. I just think he's better.
Yeah, I tried to make a case last week, Mark, but I've backtracked on it.
The money is not easily used, maybe elsewhere at this stage in the season, but there is a price difference.
That's what I was trying to kind of say, is that if you can cover the clean sheets, is there that much in it? I think Cancelo hits a couple of double-digit hauls between now and the end of the season.
Yeah. Laporte's date is really good, right? And he has had a threat in the past, but I always have that feeling personally with centre-backs that can fluctuate season on season, because he's relying on those set pieces and other people to put that ball, and you can say he finds the space, he gets.
Surprised he doesn't get more.
There's an element of luck there as to how high. Yeah, I suppose it is, and it's probably, like I say, he's always been a threat, but it feels like he's dependent on that. Whereas with Cancelo, I feel like his trajectory is only going to go from open play up, regardless of whatever he does. It's always going to be there, and Laporte, could differentiate season on season.
Yep. Let's talk captains. It's a tricky week this week. normally it's quite easy with Salah or Kane, and Son now, kind of always entering our thinking. This week, the primary candidates I've gone for are the double, Ronaldo or Fernandes versus Norwich and Liverpool, or Kane and Son. So do you back the double or do you back the single? Some other kind of differential options: Maddison, Saka, Barnes, Wood, De Bruyne if he's not injured against Brighton. What are you thinking here, Luke? I mean, if you could pick anyone for a captain this week, who does your kind of gut say?
It'd just be Ronaldo. If I was on a free hit, I'd have Ronaldo. Yeah. It'll be a horrible watch if he blanks versus Norwich, and then you've got the Liverpool game, right? Because you wouldn't expect much from that. But I just think it makes sense on paper. I could see Bruno as well, but one of those two. Ronaldo's on penalties in the double. I mean, Richarlison was terrible leading up to the double. Terrible team, terrible games. He's on penalties and suddenly hits it from nowhere. Dreadful the week after. Like, you've got that as an insurance, and we're talking about a player who's in the top 10 across the season still for expected goal involvement. So it's just clear to me that it would be Ronaldo if I had the option.
Mark, can you bring yourself to agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, if I could bring myself to bring in Ronaldo, I'd put the armband on. I'd probably go Bruno as I want to hold Kane. So, yeah, if I was free hitting, I'd go Bruno. And then Maddison would be my next choice. I think you've got to go a double game week, really. Much as I'd like to back Kane or Son, I think I would go for one of the United boys and then one of the Leicester players as a backup.
Yep, I agree. Looking at the data, there's probably not a huge amount of surprises here. Over the season, Salah's top for everything. Goals, assists, minutes for shots to the box, minutes for big chances. Ronaldo's second. Then you've got Kane and then Son. Over the last 6, though, it's Son with 8 goals in 6 game weeks. Absolutely crazy. 64.6 minutes per big chance is the best. I mean, Kane 78.8. But other than that, everyone else is like miles behind. Salah's 168.5, Fernandes 180, Ronaldo 131.5. So Son is miles clear in terms of the big chances that he's getting. And he has the best minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty, 114.1. But it's only 0.1 more than Salah. So that's the difference, isn't it? Minutes per point, 8.4 for Son, 16 for Salah, so double. But in terms of the underlying data, they should be on the same points, but Son is just absolutely miles clear at the moment. In terms of opponents, no surprise. Again, Norwich, bottom for the season, minutes per chance conceded, minutes per XG conceded. Bottom over the last 6 matches as well, so that's your main focus of points. As Mark pointed out earlier, Southampton, they're the ones that are conceding the big chances, 24.5 over the last 6. So that's where your cornet comes in.
I think again that supports the United captain, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The fact that Norwich's data is still over the season and last 6 overwhelmingly the worst on show. So it's very difficult to look beyond a United player.
It is indeed. Let's talk our free hit teams then quickly before we come into our main teams and finish the show. Mark, this is your free hit team on the screen. You've gone for Dubravka in goal, double City defence, Laporte and Cancelo with Trent and Shah, or Cher, I think it's pronounced. Jota, Maddison, Fernandes, De Bruyne, Martinelli, and Kane.
Yeah, not enough double game
Controversial.
weekers. Yeah, not enough double game weekers is what people would be screaming. I think, if this is safe, this is really hedging your bets, right? But you've got to think Laporte and Cancelo are good for a clean sheet. De Bruyne got a knock tonight, so maybe he's a risk now. So maybe I can take more risk. I think if I was making changes to this, I would possibly look at Cornet over Martinelli. I would possibly bring in Tellez over Laporte and to get another double game week player in there. But I think I like the Jota pick over Salah if Jota doesn't start the cup game and looks likely to start against United, because that gives you the money to go Fernandes and De Bruyne if De Bruyne is going to be fit. So I like the team, and it's something I'd go to. I'd probably add another double game week player in. I'd try and get another 2 in, but I think it's difficult. Too conservative, you think, Luke?
5 double game week players.
I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. I think if you do it, you just go 11. This is the thing. You've just got too much fear of the good player. I like the good players. I get it. I totally get it. But I think if you were going to use it, and this is probably why you're not going to do it, isn't it? Is you do 11.
But it's not the fear; it's the lack of decent options to bring in. In defence, I completely agree. I would rather have Laporte, Cancelo, and Trent over any double game week player.
It comes back to what I said about appearance points to me. If you get the 11 players and they all fail, you got 24 points, isn't it? If you get 2 points for every player and your captain's 24 points, so that goes to 48, and your team fails if you manage to get 11 doublers. that's a nice base to work from, and you've got 180 minutes for each player to extend on that. It's very safe to say I'm going to get 11 doublers, and I'm probably going to come out with a decent score, even if they don't do that well. Whereas with this team, yes, it could do well, but you really need those guys to fire in those single matches, and they can do. How much variance is there in 1 week? There is a hell of a lot, isn't there?
I think
anything can happen.
You could easily lose Kane for Ronaldo. You can easily lose Jota to another double game week midfielder, right? So I think those two decisions are easy to make. I think it's in defence it's tougher because you've already got the double Newcastle. So what do? Do you go an Arsenal defender maybe, Gabriel? Given
you don't play 4 in defence.
Then you go Wood up front, right? So you're changing the structure, I guess.
This is my one. So I've got Dubravka, Cancelo, and Trent, same as you. I just don't think you can go without Cancelo and Trent. I don't know why you would. I wouldn't be picking another double game player over those two. Their ceiling's too high. And then share like you've got. Then I've got Maddison, Saka, Salah, Son, Wood, Ronaldo, captain, and Adams. So I've gone 3 up top instead of 4 at the back. But I mean, I'm talking like Wood and Adams over Laporte. Yeah. It's not exactly massively inspirational stuff. I don't have like bags more confidence in this free hit team than yours. I'm not saying it's like objectively better. It's just, I guess I've got more double game week players in there.
You've still got 4 single game week players, which again, the argument is that's not going for it enough, right? And I totally get that. I mean, my free hit team, and I guess this is as well, is one that I would be comfortable with playing at this moment in time. I think, nearer the deadline and when there's perhaps a bit more courage in my veins, I would probably go a bit deeper into double game week players. It's just tonight, on a Wednesday evening. At the moment, I'm still nervous about it, right?
Yeah. Well, there's no other than Ronaldo and Fernandes. There's no premium double game week players to consider.
No, of course, no.
So you take Salah out for like a Ward-Prowse, and suddenly you've got like 10 million to play with and nothing to use it on because there's no other players even around the 8, 9, 10 million mark.
Yeah, so, and I think you're banking here on Wood and Adams delivering, right? Which 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2.
Wood scored, Mark. Come on.
God.
From the spot. Yeah.
Oh,
they all count, my friend.
It is depressing, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, basically those 2 free hits are the reason that I'm not looking to free hit because.
What about? Let me throw a name at you guys, right? And I know you're going to say no, but I think it's a punt in a different way, and it's basically on minutes, and it's in Yacho. It seems to me that people are very happy to punt on players where they go, well, they're going to get 180 minutes, but their stats aren't that good. But they're not prepared ever to do it the other way around, where a player has got very good stats, like Inacio has, pretty much. Well, not very good. They're good stats, but his minutes are obviously a risk. He's the kind of player I feel like. I don't think he's the best pick. Don't get me wrong. I think that obviously Ronaldo, Wood, and stuff are better. But he feels like a sort of high risk player. You could kind of like the Gareth Bale flex that I did, where the minutes aren't secure, but if he's on the pitch, he can perform.
I don't hate it. I would prefer to have Salah and Son than Iheanacho with 2 games.
Yeah, but that's the fear we're talking about, right?
It's not fear. It's not fear in any way. Even if they both had 100%, 99% ownership.
You just think they'll get more points.
I just think Salah will outscore Iheanacho if Iheanacho gets 90 minutes and 30 minutes. I'd rather have Salah against United when I'm backing them to score 3 or 4 goals against them. And we're not sure what Leicester's going to turn up.
Well, I do see the logic in like if you're going to free hit, you go 11 double game weekers if you can. But you've just got to suck up and hope for the best, right? And that's what the free hit lets you do. Right? That's the rules behind playing it. It's one week, you're taking a punt. It just the trouble is in the game weeks that we can play it, 36, 37, or this one. The single game week players and the powerful ones have got good fixtures that could really hurt you. You've just got to have the courage to do it.
Yeah, I guess so. I just see it as you free hit in the players that you think are going to score the most points for that week. And
that's not what the models say, though,
is it? The model hasn't ever won FPL, has it?
It says those players are going to get the most points. It says those players are going to get the most points. That's the bit you're missing.
If the model is saying that Ward-Prowse is going to get more points than Salah, then I think the model's got big problems.
Well...
No, I think on average, if you have 2 games, 180 minutes plus the basis if they both fail, it still makes sense.
You could say that about anyone. You could say John Joe Shelby's got 2 games. Would you have him over Salah?
I don't know. I'd have to check the model. I don't think for myself anymore.
No, I don't think we go that far. But it makes sense in the context of what the model suggests. Then yeah, I think I'm not surprised by what I saw.
I don't like this model.
Has anyone checked what it looks like in 34, 35, the other ones that aren't doubles? I know that doesn't feel right because they're not doubles, but seeing as though there seems to be problems with all the others, has anyone even looked at any of the other leagues?
I haven't looked at that.
I will
straight
either,
after the show do that.
You're the analytics guy now, Luke. You need to. That's what you need to be bringing to the table.
I've always loved it. You can't. Throw that up.
XP.
Yeah.
That'd be next. Right, teams. Just quickly. Here's mine. It's a bit of a mess. Dubravka, Trent, Robertson, Doherty, Coutinho, Salah, Saka currently captained, Barnes, Kulusevski, Kane, and Lacazette, who apparently hasn't been training. I've got 2 frees. I was going to play the bench boost. That's out the window now. I'm going to get Cancelo in. I either downgrade Coutinho or Lacazette to do that. I might even get rid of all 3, to be honest, and just take the -4. Maybe get Mateta, Gomez, and Cancelo, which is probably what I was thinking of doing anyway. And then that would give me enough money next week to get Reece James.
So you're gonna hope Robert starts, are you?
No, I'm not going to play him. He won't start. He's out. Right. Amity might get 1. Hwang hasn't got a game. The bench boost is dead for me. I think I'll do that. I'll do Lacazette to either Broja or Mateta. Get in Gomez for Coutinho. Get in Cancelo. And then next week I can then do Amity to James. Reece James.
And Saka's your captain?
Well, who else would you captain out of that lot? That bunch of jokers.
I'll probably go Salah, to be honest. I mean...
But the model...
I know. Yeah.
No, I'd probably keep it on the double gaming player and just hope that Chelsea are knackered from the FA Cup and Southampton are crap and don't turn up. So it'll probably stay on Saka. Anyway, that's my moves. It'd probably be -4. To be honest, it'd be quite nice to get rid of Lacazette even for a hit. He's not someone I've particularly enjoyed owning. Luke, your team: Pope, Cancelo, James, Trent, Robertson, Kulusevski, Salah captain, very unmodel-like. Saka, Foden, Broja, and Kane. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I still might do the free hit. I don't know. I mean, I've been playing devil's advocate during this. I don't know whether...
Yeah, after all that, bloody Salah captain.
I'm just trying to mix it up. It's be boring. But no, when have you ever known me to actually do the sensible thing? That's the other part. For me, it makes sense to do it in 37 as well, because I don't have... There's players in there that I won't have, as I mentioned, like the Villa, the Everton players. When's Man City's double going to go? And I can just focus on getting good players for the good run-in, and that maybe is my differentiation. I can't even talk. Yeah, I'm not going to try and say that word again. I just think...
Nailed it.
Yeah, the problems with Doherty as well. Coutinho was going down in price, so I switched him for Foden. I was literally no money in the bank at all, so I had to make that move. So I did that early, which is a risk.
But you were a bit nervous when he was down injured earlier, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. But then I would have probably just free hit, right? Because I'm on the brink anyway. True. So, yeah, it's... I'm not decided yet, but that will be my team if I don't free hit, and I can't. I mean, who else would I captain that scenario? I suppose Saka, like you say, but I just feel like Salah's gonna have.
No, it's really tough. I think. Come on, Mark. Hopefully you've got something exciting for us. Pope in goal, Trent, Robertson, Cher, Doherty, Salah, Saka, Kulusevski, Kane. Oh God, Weghorst.
Yeah, and I'm not doing the joke again.
You're in a worse spot than us.
Weghorst and Broja. Yeah, I'm probably going to... Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm probably going to take a hit, and I'm looking at possibly Podence to Martinelli, Coutinho to a Leicester, and then I'll bench one of Weghorst or Broja, probably would be Weghorst. So, yeah, it's just... Do I want to lose Coutinho? I know he's got some good doubles coming up, but I just can't... I just don't want to hold him anymore. I'm just totally out of love of him as an option in my team. And
you can always get him back, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or use the free hit to get him. Exactly. So that's my thinking. Podence has got to go. Obviously, I've got a lot of casualties here. Doherty, Saiss, Podence, Coutinho are players I don't want anymore. So I'm not short of options to get rid of. It's not a benching dilemma by any means, is it? But yeah, that's what I'll probably do. I'm going to gamble on Martinelli. I think I'll gamble on Arsenal still recovering and ending the season with some fight rather than going out of a whimper, which is perhaps the more likely outcome. I'll gamble on it being the opposite, and I'll go Martinelli, I think. Well, at the end of the day, Martinelli is a good player. He's 5'3". That's a bargain. I regrettably got rid in the first, some game weeks ago. I think that having him for the run-in could work out. So I'll go that. Podence, Martinelli, Coutinho, probably to Maddison.
Likelihood of free hitting, percentage-wise?
Uh, 30, 40. It's still,
quite high.
yeah. As I get nearer the deadline, it only takes a bit of injury news to tip me over the edge, I think. You know, if De Bruyne's out, for example, and there's some benefit in going a Gundogan or something like that with a free hit, you know, someone who could have a bit of an impact, maybe. So anything could tip me over, I think. Like Luke, I'm kind of teetering. It's definitely not.
You about that as well, Luke? 30, 40?
I'm like bang on 50 at the moment, really.
50-50.
I know it makes sense. It's just, you know, and I have to admit, like Mark, it is the fear of there's some players with some really good games this week, and I know my luck. I know that what I'll do, and then they'll punish me. So it's still there. It shouldn't be there, you know, but it is there. And it just feels like out of all the weeks, 37. I know there are some other games like Spurs versus Burnley, but outside that, the other games are away, I think, for some of the top sides. It feels like a week that could punish you a little bit less. Yeah. And it's more just saving that transfer and having that more information of where the games go. That's more of the logic behind it, really.
Yeah, and by 37, things might be over as well, Luke, right? City might have won the title.
Well, this is it,
Spurs might have wrapped up third or fourth, right? So,
yeah.
We don't know.
I mean, what happens if I think there's a small possibility that Man United get a double in 34, is that right? Or Chelsea, Man United, I think someone...
Yeah, Chelsea, Man United could drop in. Yeah.
Imagine that information suddenly came out. I don't know if it could come out possibly before this deadline, or maybe not.
No, it can't.
But
it depends on the cup.
It can't, okay. Yeah, that would change anything, but there's still information to come, isn't it? It's early in the week still.
Yep. Very nice. I'm 0%. There's no way I'm free hitting. I've got to get rid of my. I've got to get rid of my.
I wish
problems.
I had that dedication to whatever way I was picking. I do.
Yeah, I can't wake up on Sunday morning with Lacazette and Doherty still in my team and Roberts. It'd just be too painful. We're nearly there. It's the home stretch now. Just to mention the BlackBox leagues. We've got Joaquim in the top spot on 2,330 points, 62 points for him. But Obey is closing the gap, 71 points for him. He's just 20 points behind. I mean, they're both like top 50, something like that, having absolutely crazy seasons. Then you've got Leauges, Ruben, Sebastiano Finsley, Hall of Famer in Fantasy Football Scout, having another amazing season. He's ridiculous. We talk about Fabio being incredible. Finn's in the top 5 Hall of Fame. He's going to surely climb up to second off the back of that. The consistency of these guys is just absolutely insane. For anyone who says this game's like 90% luck, like, you just have to look at some of these players. They're elite. You've got then Tess Olkin in 7, Noah, Aberg in 8th, Tanvir and Brett rounding up the top 10. Apprentice League, I'm top, Mark, by
Natalie's going to catch me.
Something. 180 points something.
Yeah,
but that's
academic at this point.
That
really.
That's academic.
Hardly worth mentioning, really.
What I do want to mention though is Natalie, because Natalie is 16 points behind you in her first ever FPL season. Yeah. So as well as getting relegated,
take a total newcomer to FPL, we put her amongst the Twitter community, give her some stats, and she beats me.
Oh, that was the nightmare. We talked about that. We said, we can't let that happen, and 16.
It's not over
points.
yet. It's not. I may only lose to my 10-year-old son. It might be, it's fine.
Just shows you the challenge these days, doesn't it? If you want to get yourself involved, the information.
Well, it actually does, right? It actually does. The fact that Natalie's done so well off the back of just a little bit of coaching, a little bit of direction, and obviously the Twitter community. She's managing to get easily. She should get a top 100k finish, I think, right? Which is an incredible achievement, and shows you how much harder it's got, that someone can come from little or no background in FPL, little or no background in football, really. She didn't come with a huge knowledge of football even, did she? So it's fantastic achievement.
We haven't checked in with these guys as much as we wanted to, but I mean, Henry, bless him, 25 points this game week. He's like nearly 300 points behind Natalie. I mean, I reckon there's loads of things we can take from both of these guys, from the different seasons they've had, because Henry's missed deadlines, his interest has waned, he used his chips early, all this kind of stuff, and Natalie's just gone from strength to strength. So,
and I think maybe the fact that he came in with football knowledge, he must find it frustrating that he's not doing well, and maybe that's a factor as well. Maybe there is something in the, people who are newcomers to FPL are normally people who are football fans, think they know a good deal about football, and when they play the game and don't do well, they lose interest and go and they're gone.
Knowledge of the game is far more important than knowledge of football.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Knowledge of how to play fantasy football is far
exactly more that does look and also the help you get from the community and how you
it's funny because you only ever see it the opposite way as well, right? You only ever see people going, the hive mind, Twitter changed my opinion, I blame them, I was going to follow my gut and I was going to do whatever. But I think they don't give it enough credit, because I was be surprised if they don't realise that, there's a lot of good stuff out there that actually does positively affect their rank quite a lot.
Although Natalie will be saying the Havertz decision was purely based on, on
but again, that could have gone so different.
Yeah,
what was the
a lot
score
of
in
good
the Chelsea
managers
game?
fell for that.
Yeah.
What was the
7-0. Yeah.
Yep.
Come on. Yeah.
A couple of plugs for us before we finish the show. Firstly, North versus South. Saturday, 28th of May, up in Birmingham. I'll be playing in that right back. We had a training session a few weeks ago. Plonker did a great podcast where he analysed all the teams. He described me as, what did he say, Mark? He was like, expected the worst, but he was okay. Was basically...
I don't know. I never got past the Manscrape advert for the 4 minutes that started, so I didn't get to the meat of the podcast, sadly. Sorry, Plonker.
We can't slate him because that's going to be us. I'm sure at some point. If you're interested in coming up and seeing that, it should be a really, really good game. It's up in Birmingham. You can buy tickets. There's links and description below. All the money goes to charity, Street Charge United. Andy North is doing bloody commentary. He's going to absolutely
you'll come out of that favourably, I'm sure. He must be writing his lines now, right?
He is the worst person that I could have doing the commentary for my terrible footballing ability, but there he is. He'll be there. So yeah, definitely get involved. Green Arrow charity. Mark and I've been supporting this all season. This is run by FPL Greece. 1,417 meals have been raised by FPL Greece, which is absolutely incredible. You basically donate every time you get a Green Arrow. You just head onto the app. Mark and I give a $5 each time we get a green. You can donate for as little as like 65p, or you can just go in and just give some money off. There's like 6-7 game weeks left. It'd be great to get like 2,000 or something. 2,000 meals would be amazing. And this is going to emergency aid in the Ukraine as well, so you can do your bit helping. And I'm a bit reluctant with this last one because it is talking about Fest, which I can't go to.
You're not going.
I'm absolutely devastated. I won't be there. Mark, you'll be there. Plonker will be there. Luke, are you going?
I'm working, unfortunately. They keep putting it on days, that I can't go. But I will go as soon as I can, but yeah.
But yeah, there'll be loads of people from the community there. The last one was, honestly, it was just such a good night. Ed's doing stand-up. There'll be a quiz. Kelly
We've
Saunders
got Kelly
will be
and James presenting again.
Kelly and James.
I'm going to be on stage with some other members of the community doing some chat of some kind, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's just brilliant to be amongst other FPL managers in a venue. And we're talking like, 100, 200 managers, right? So it's hopefully bigger scale each time we do it. I'm looking forward to it. Shame I'm flying solo without you, Leauges. You're not there to soak up the plaudits and the season you've had, and I've just got to be making excuses all night, basically.
I'm really sad, honestly. It was really nice, get it. When we meet people who listen to the podcast and they kind of say they enjoy listening to and stuff, it kind of makes the whole thing worthwhile. So all the comments we get, we do really appreciate, and yeah, I just loved it. It was. I said it before. If you're worried about going because you're going to be on your own or whatever like that. I remember when we first got there was there was like lots of different tables set up and one person kind of on each table. Everyone was a bit kind of nervous, and I went into the other room to like grab a few people to be like, let's go and get everyone mingling. Walked back in 2 minutes later, and everyone were just congregated together and was all chatting. So you will find people to talk about. You've all got to share interest. It's 20 quid for a ticket. It'll be a great night. So
yeah, it's was it FFF-fest.com basically.
That's it.
FF-fest.com. Must get the website correct. But yeah, tickets still available. I'll see you if Az won't see you, but I'll see you on Friday the 22nd for that.
Yep. Final thing then is just the smash and likes. Mark, I've hosted. Over to you.
Oh, have I got to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And we lost a lot of crowd to the European games, which is understandable. We had our problems this week, of course, as we always do. What do you expect when Az is hosting? Yeah, of course you did. You were watching the Man City game as well. That's fair enough. But yeah, if you got to the end, and thanks very much for staying with us. Do like this video. Do subscribe if you don't already subscribe. It really does help us grow the channel and keep us going. Obviously on the pod as well, drop us a review if you're listening to the pod and you've enjoyed the last 2 and a bit hours. At some point we must cut this back, but it's just not easy. When there's 3 of us on it, it's even worse, right? So, and I had a lot to say having missed the last couple, but I'm back now permanently. I don't think I should miss any now between now and the end of the season. I seem to have recovered, so I'll see you next week. And hopefully the 3 of us will be back then. Luke, permanent move maybe to the end of the season and when we can get you, right?
Yeah. If you guys want me, I'm happy to come along. I think I've only got one day that I might be working, so yeah, just give me the shout. Happy to be.
Sign
I can't
the
be on
contract.
here. I can't be on here all every week with just as with that rank overlooking mine.
Oh, is that what? I'm a shield, am I?
You are a meat shield between me, my rank,
Mark,
and
I'd be your meat
basically.
shield any day, baby.
Free hit, half your rank. Come on, that's what we want. That's what the people want.
Obviously, if you play your free hit and have a fantastic game week and get in the top 100k, contract ripped up basically. But at the moment it's there on the table.
We can be safe with the knowledge that won't happen.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Love it, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be back next week.
Catch you later.